is Trent Tolau in jersey number 14, which means Harry Grant's on the bench with McDonald, Hinchy, Hetherington, Hewen and Waitete. The coach is Craig Bellamy, who of course has the award against his fellow veteran coach and great mate in Wayne Bennett. Here come the South Sydney Rabbitohs, led out by their captain tonight, Cody Walker, fullback Matt Duffy, wingers Johnston and Graham, centres Siegwald and White, and 5'8" Walker, halfback Ashton Ward. Lock tonight, Bronson Garlick, 50th game for him. Back rowers are John Raddle and Ewan Aiken. So Raddle, of course, in for suspended for feeder. Props to Vota Totola and Kevin Kolomatangi. Hooker is Brandon Smith. Bench is Hubner, Sullivan, Gray, LeBlanc, Humphreys and Fletcher. Our referee is the record breaker, Ashley Klein. Our touch officials, Matt Noyen and Kieran Irons, with Grant, Joey Atkins in the bunker. Who's your tip, Dean Hallertau?
Storm, without a lot of confidence.
Who's your tip, Michael Carianis?
Rabbitohs without any confidence.
Oh, tiebreaker me, I'll say Melbourne. They are favoured to win here, despite the fact, as I said, they've won all 5 of their games here, Souths, at home, at Stadium Australia in season 2026. NRL Friday on ABC Sport rolls on. Saw Falongo kicks us off, and the Souths will have first use from that one end of Stadium Australia here. It's almost spilled by Cody Walker. He feeds the footy off here to the first hit up of the game, taken out there by that man, John Raddle. And will play at 20 out to his own line, and they're running left to right here. South's first use of the ball in this game after earlier in Newcastle. The Sydney Roosters 23 beat the Newcastle Knights 22. You're with Brett Sprigg alongside Dean Hallertau and Michael Carianis. Played there by Aiken in centre field. Centre cross here to the right-hand side, and now for Kolomatangi. Play at 8 short of the halfway. 20 in from the western side, as again from dummy half it comes away from Bronson Garlick. And over halfway they go here, South on this first set of the game with Brandon Smith. Rolls it back there for Garlick, and now Ward put down late after his kick. High ball arrives there for Falongo, but will come back here, I fancy, for the South's penalty inside the first 60 seconds here at Stadium Australia.
That's a big error there by Trent Toilau. He rushes out of the line to put pressure on the kicker, Ashton Ward, and he contacts him and takes him to the ground after the ball has left the foot. And we've seen this all year. Those ones awarded as penalties, and for your first defensive set to concede that and invite the opposition down for an attacking set, it's poor.
Yeah, I mean, still no ball in this game so far for the Melbourne Storm. Garlick will tap here, 20 out. Through hands it comes Ward, and now to Totola. And Totola is brought down, 15 out, right in front of the uprights at that south end of Stadium Australia. Played the Garlick, looks to his left-hand side here for Smith, first receiver. And he gains a few more here. He's 8 metres out in front of the uprights. Played back to Garlick, goes left-hand side, Ward. Catch and release now, Walker. And now the full-back bursting through Duffy. And Duffy stands here in the tackle of Mini, who'll play it 5 out left-hand side of the sticks. Coming open side right here now for the Rabbitohs. Smith off to Ward. He calls the play. Back on the inside for Kolomatangi. And Keon, who's Dragons bound next year, is stopped in a 3-man tackle. 10 metres out, dead centre field. And this is tackle 3. Make it 4 now for South. Comes to Ward. Off the right-hand side now, Walker through the gap. White did hit the line hard. Either out, he'll play it now on the last for South. A burrow from dummy half, and Campbell Graham has scored the try. And Souths make Melbourne pay with that first penalty. They keep possession from that very first set of the game, and Campbell stretch Graham does stretch and score the try inside 2.5 minutes at Homebush. It's Souths 4, Melbourne 0. Bunnies kick to come.
Yeah, so it was one that we looked at before the game, the swap with Harry Grant going to the bench. Toilau coming on to start things, and the inexperience there shown with the penalty that was given away. And then the Bunnies go straight on the attack. Their shifts looked really good. They went to their left, and they had a real good opportunity out there to maybe penetrate the line and get through and put some points on the board, but they take their time to come all the way back to the right. And smart play there by Campbell Graham. The play the ball's only a metre or so back from the line, and he just picked the ball up, burrowed under. The defence there from the Melbourne Storm going to sleep and not paying enough attention, and a great start by the Rabbitohs.
Touchline, Michael Carianis.
Yeah, 2 positional swaps for South Sydney. Brandon Smith, despite being named at dummy half, is actually playing the lock, with Bronson Garlick playing dummy half. Kieran Kolomatangi, named the prop, is actually playing right edge, back row, and John Raddle is playing prop.
Okay, thank you, MC. There was that change, and we can tell that Bronson Garlick's been out there with the dummy half passing for South Sydney. His 50th NRL game against his old side, which has meant some Some time in the middle for Brandon Smith. And here is the kick now from Latrell Seagold. He's 25 out and about 5 in from the western side of the ground to make it 6-0 South Sydney after 3.5 minutes at Stadium Australia. He starts it right and just fades right across and misses near side. And South's 4, Melbourne 0. You're on NRL Friday on ABC Sport. Brett Sprigg alongside Dean Hallertau and Michael Carianis. And by the way, Newcastle now. So a 1 point loss at home to the Roosters. That now means the past 3 weeks, losses of 2 points, 2 points, 1 point. In fact, their last 4 losses all by 2 points or less. Mind you, their past 4 wins all by 6 points or less. So they love the tight games at Newcastle Knights. Not tonight, though, I don't think.
Well, they like being in the grind, don't they? And it's something you look back on and be happy with the effort, but they convert those into wins.
We'll get a full wrap of that with Andrew Moore, Luke Lewis and John Gibbs. Melbourne's still yet to have the footy here at Stadium Australia as it's run back on the hit up there from Rattle, who'll play at 15 out from that northern line. The third gamer, John Rattle, now through centre field. Here goes to Tola. Veteran forward. 25 out, 20 in from the western side. Played to Garlick, burst from dummy half himself, takes on Wishart. Put down here in the tackle this time out there by Toikamanu, 40 out from his own line. And South keep the footy here midway through this set after points. Garlick dummy half. Running man here is Dufty. Inside Melbourne Storm territory. Post-contact gain there in the tackle of Clark. Will play at 40 out from Melbourne's line. Garlick goes across here for Ward. And he will kick to end the set. Down towards that wing there. Farlongo takes it and goes to ground. And the Storm at last will play it and have possession going on the attack, 10 out from their own line.
Yeah, nothing fancy about that set from the Rabbitohs, but they were able to make it all the way down the other field, which is other end of the field, which is important off the back of points. So just some hard running through that middle third, and they're really turning the Melbourne defence around.
That was 100% possession for South Sydney in the first 4.5 minutes of the game. Played here out there by Jack Howarth. He's one of those players, Shot, that you'd expect to really try to step up in that Melbourne lineup, Jack Howarth, in the absence of others. Here they go up that far side of the ground here. Oren Keeley, former Dolphin, brought down. Jerome Hughes' kick will end the set for the Storm down that far eastern side of the ground. Taken by Dufty for the South Sydney Rabbitohs here, the fullback, 25 out. Steals 15 more and returns the kick to there. 40 out from his own line. South's 4, Melbourne 0. Our scoreline here, NRL Friday on ABC Sport. 8 short of the halfway. Dummy half Garlick finds its way there to Totola and rumbles into a 3-man tackle here. Right smack bang on halfway. The Storm in their white away strip. South in their famous Cardinal Emergers. It comes on the right-hand side. The run now from Dufty, and he's now claimed initially by Wishart and also Howarth. 30 out from Melbourne's line. South on the advance here. Ward off to Rattle, and the little break there, the little gap closed quickly as your Toikamanu gets him, and now played 25 out. Comes to Brandon Smith. Flat ball to Walker, and Walker runs the footy here. Collared by Keeley, and this will be the last play in fact, it was a changeover, says referee actually, Klein. So it was last play, and the Storm go back on the attack. 11 out from their own line. It's South's 4, the Storm 0 after 7 minutes.
Yeah, another good set there by the Bunnies deep into Melbourne territory, and it was a good play out to the left, but last play gets tackled with the borders, Cody Walker. So the Storm once again, and it's really difficult for them to get out of their own end. We've been looking to our right pretty much for the entire first 6 or 7 minutes.
And the South defence here is strong on this carry from Cooper Clark, who of course has played every game since debut in round 1. And now 25 out from that southern line with Josh King in his 200th. Play it there now for Trent Tolau. Across it comes Leo to Hughes. Appeals quickly here. Mini off to Howarth. Now on that far side. Dragged towards the eastern side. It was great work from the South defence. There was not much they could do about that on that far side there to Malatu Brown. So strong defence there from Seagold and Co. And that will give possession back to South Sydney. Near halfway, they lead 4-0 after nearly 8 minutes here at Stadium Australia. Touchline, Michael Carianis.
Yeah, as Halla said, it's been all South Sydney, and their effort and their energy is all for them to see. You look at, I know they've got a lot of injuries, South Sydney, but look at this right-hand side of the field. You've got Keelan Kolomatangi, Jack Wyden and Campbell Graham, still handy trio on this right-hand side of the field, and they've come this way plenty of times.
South with a full set inside Melbourne Storm territory. Garlick to his left-hand side now. Ward to Walker, and now Duffy shows good pace on the angled run. Dragged down from behind by Nick Meany. And he'll play it now, 25 out, 5 in from that far side. Of course, it comes open side right now for Walker. On to Brandon Smith, who is, Michael Carianis mentioned, is playing middle forward. 20 out from Melbourne's line. Comes to Ward now. The run from Walker. Directs the pass was right now to Whiten. And Whiten saw a huge gap and slides in to score in the southwestern corner of Stadium Australia. The South's second try. 8-0 kick to come. The Melbourne defence has been lacklustre in these first 8.5 minutes. Dean Hallertau.
Yeah, that's one way to describe it, Spriggy. They haven't really presented themselves well tonight already. The shifts that the South Sydney Rabbitohs have done to either side of the field are making plenty of metres, and then they shift one out to the left. Nick Meany does a pretty good job to round up Dufty, but then immediately they get on the attack to their right side, the Bunnies, and then it's just backpedaling from the Storm. They probably had them for numbers, but they didn't adjust very well. And then Jack Howarth, he's running backwards towards the line. By the time Jack White gets there, no one has even laid a finger on him. So great work from the Bunnies to recognise the vulnerabilities in the defence of the Storm.
And who won a Clive Churchill medal here back in 2019 as a Canberra Raider. Jack White in a losing grand final scores the try here for South Sydney. 8-0. Get to MC very shortly as Seabolt lines up the kick, which is identical this spot to where his last kick was from. 25 out, about 5 in from the western side. Hey Spriggy, Dean, MC, South for the win. The wings, Johnston for a hat-trick, and Dufty causing some grief, says Dubbo Dragon. Well, at this stage they'll get a look in, I'm sure. Spriggy, Jimmy, Jen and Rusty cheering on our boys. Glory, glory from the Maxwell Kirkby household. Lovely to hear from you as always. Cricket season's not too far away. Here's Seabolt. None from one so far tonight. Inside these first 10 minutes. At Homebush, this kick looks a bit better. It fades across to the far side this time. So none from 2. And it's still South's 8, Melbourne 0. Earlier in Newcastle, the Roosters 23, the Knights 22. Touch on me go, Michael Carianis.
Well, it was that right edge we just spoke about of South Sydney. It's so potent. This time, Cody Walker, who's been parked on the left, comes over to the right-hand side, creates that space. And Jack White was just waiting for Jack Howard to run him down. And then he realised, well, I'm through here. And pinned his ear back and scored an easy try.
Now, I spoke earlier, Dino, and I mentioned to MC, who was chuffed and thrilled about all of this. The referees do have a jersey. It's considered a jersey. I think you mentioned that. Crawls at Lake Macquarie says, wanted to let you know from earlier, refs have jerseys. As a player committee member and referee, refs have coaches and teams too. I knew that. Get up, my bunnies. Love the call. Thank you, Crawls. You know, I found myself thinking, is it a shirt? Is it no, it's a jersey. It's a jersey. So Ben Cummins sort of passing the baton there for the NRL's new record holder, Ashley Klein, who's in control of things here. And South's in control of the scoreboard as well. Here's to Tola, and we've got a penalty here, South Sydney, for that high shot in Melbourne's defensive line. So it's slow going here for the Storm so far after 10.5 minutes. And it was Lero who's penalised for it. Yeah, Lero comes across and Lero. He's been penalised here for the Melbourne Storm. And so they find touch on that far side here, South Sydney, with those first 2 penalties of the game. 8-0 the scoreline here in South's favour. You're with Brett Sprigg alongside Dean Hallertau and Michael Carianis. Here's a strong centre field run from Totola. Indeed, Liero, the player penalised in that tackle, who's out there watching the ball move away from him. Ward wrapped up by Jerome Hughes. 40 out here. South's on the attack so far with 75% possession in this game for an 8-0 scoreline after 11 minutes. As again, the Storm defenders wrap their way around Totola. Does it now for Garlick, dummy half to Walker. Delays the pass to Duffy. White will push. What happened there? He sort of pushed the ball out in front of him, Jack White. And it's picked up here by Falungo in the in-goal area for Melbourne. It's back in the field of play and nailed 10 metres out there by Ashton Ward and Keon Kolomatangi. So still South's 8, Melbourne 0 here after earlier in Newcastle. The Roosters 23 beat the Knights
Yeah, first little blemish for the Rabbitohs through that mistake by Jack White. But just watching again the defence of the Melbourne Storm, there's no line speed, there's not really any intensity to their contact, and that's why we're seeing the Bunnies run freely through the middle of the field and just get into those attacking opportunities.
Thank you, Dion. Thank you, Derek and Anne. Regular texters here as well, 0467920222. First set restart of the game goes the way of the visitors. The Storm here on their own 40-metre line. Played to Tolau, dummy half, across to his right now for Oren Keeley, who was released from the Dolphins only a few weeks ago. Play metre should have halfway. The Storm here on this tackle 3. Over halfway they go now with Wishart. Brought to ground now by Totola. He'll play it 40 out in centre field from that northern goal line, which Souths are defending. Here's Falongo, shows good pace around Kolmatangi. He's taken around the legs down there by John Rattle. Now play it 20 out. A good game this upfield now for Melbourne. Wishart back to his fullback Falongo, and he stops and assesses the options. Now brought down by Totola, Rattle and Co. 15 out centre field. And this will be last play for the Storm. On the right-hand side they go, Liero to Hughes, and he's wrapped up all by Walker. And that will be changeover. So strong South defence once more. And that Melbourne set comes to nothing. It's still the Bunnies 8, the Storm 0, 13 gone first half. NRL Friday on ABC Sport.
It was a better set from Melbourne though, wasn't it? They were able to make plenty of metres downfield, and Suafa'alongo injected himself into the game, made it a little bit of a half break and really put them on the front foot. But on the last play, big defensive effort there by Cody Walker to rush out and lock down Jerome Hughes.
Troy says go the Rabbitohs. Troy from Cabramatta. Rich Emotion Grove, thank you for your text. Ali and Appen, amazing Ali and Appen. Friday night footy with a great weekend of games, go Storm. So a mixed bag on the tips from our listeners. Here's Kolmatangi, 40 out from his own line. 20 in Western side, and for Souths who lead 8-0, and it's second last play. Ash Klein keeps them going here despite the protests there of the South players and fans as they keep possession. Played by Dufty, off to Garlick, to his right-hand side for Ward's kick to end the set, and it travels high and long downfield there for Falongo. Feeds it back now to his winger in Moses Leo, and Moses Leo is run aground down there by John Rattle and Totola. He'll play it 15 out. Wishart from dummy half across to his halves partner in Jerome Hughes. And again, South's defence very strong there on that ball runner in Tuamalatu Brown. Play at 25 out from his own line. Here is Nick Meany on a centre field burst. 35 out now from Melbourne's line. Storm on the attack. Midway through the set here, they trail 8-0. There's the tall figure of Utoi Kamanu. Good post contact game there with 3 defenders hanging on. He'll play it now, 20 in from that western side. Tolau across for King. Off to Jerome Hughes, and he steps on the inside there of Aiken. And now will play it 40 out from that northern line. Last play Melbourne, they trail 8-0. Wishart's kick goes high down towards that northeastern corner. Alex Johnston leaps up there for South, brings it down safely with that heavy strapping on his right knee. Will play it 10 out from his own line.
Yeah, another good set there from the Melbourne Storm, just in terms of the energy they're playing with when the ball is in their hand. Their shifts to either side of the field, they're making really good metres. They're cutting across the middle third of the field, and very different style to what the Bunnies are playing at the moment. 25 out from that northern line. Played here by Campbell Graham, who scored the first try of the night, by the way, here at Stadium Australia. And with Brett Sprigg alongside Dean Hallertau and Michael Kayans down to MC very shortly. Garlick off to the left-hand side there now for the run of his fullback. Dufty will play it 8 short of the halfway. Ward's kick now from just in front of the 40. Goes onto the chest of Moses Leo. End-to-end stuff here in this period of play. And one of the South defenders slipped over out there. I think it was Totola. And this could prove costly here for South. So over halfway they go here. The Storm still going is Moses Leo. And he'll play it 40 out from South Sydney's line here on tackle 1. So position well here, the Melbourne Storm looking for their first points of the night. And there is Oren Keeley, 30 out, 20 in from that far side. Played to Harry Grant, who's out there. Didn't start tonight, was on the bench. Now he's into the action. The Storm skipper waits here on tackle 3. Behind the man playing at Liero. Off to Jerome Hughes, 28. Utoi Kamanu explodes through a gap, but not quite there. He's stopped by a smaller figure of Ashton Ward, 8 metres out, left-hand side of the post. And now played out by Brandon Smith as the pass came across. And referee Ash Klein will penalise South Sydney for that. And this could prove, as I say, costly for the Storm off the back of that touchline
Michael Carianis.
Yeah, Harry Grant onto the field for the Melbourne Storm, but Stefano Utokamanu, who's had a couple of massive carries. He's the guy that's really tried to change the ascendancy of this game by laying the platform, and has had a couple of really good charging runs.
So, tapped here by Wishart, off to Jerome Hughes, and speaking of front rowers, there is Josh King in his 200th game. He'll play it. Oh, I know, he's lost it to play the ball. So keep giving... Oh, no, he's going to let them come back here. Referee actually declined. So the ball was interfered with, so another penalty here for Melbourne. Grant across here for Cooper Clark. The second rower, the rookie, play it 5 out, left-hand side of the posts. Dummy half Grant across to Wishart. Catch and release now for Hughes. The run there and following. Good sweep line run. Here goes the right-hand side and sliding in to score. Nice effort out there from Tuamulatu Brown. The Storm are in at long last. They took the most of those penalties going their way, and Sialangi Tuamulatu Brown scores their first points tonight. 8-4 kick to come, Melbourne, after 17 minutes here at Stadium Australia in Hallertau.
Yeah, we said it's bringing in repeat possession through those penalties, gives the Melbourne Storm the first real good look at playing some good ball football, and it's a nice run by Cooper Clark on the left-hand side. Puts a really big dent in the Rabbitohs defence. Once he plays the ball, they've got a full shift to their right. It goes through all three halves, hands, and then Suafalango gets the ball out the back. He cuts off the right foot. The defence on the outside for the Rabbitohs and sort of rushed up and in to try and shut him down, but the footwork for Falalongo gets him behind the line, and then he finds the winger there in Tuamulatu Brown. He gets across and opens up the account for the Storm.
That opens his career account as well. It's his first career try for Melbourne born and raised Sialangi Tuamulatu Brown. On the touchline, Michael Carianis.
Yeah, nice bit of work there from the Melbourne Storm. Suafalalongo just burnt the Rabbitohs with speed, and then put a beautiful pass for the winger to score. That's opening try for the Melbourne Storm, but nice bit of work from Falalongo sweeping out the back.
Jake says, don't forget, Ashcon also refereed 151 UK Super League games between 2003 and 2008. How could I forget? But Andrew went through the resume there for Ashcon, all of his origins and grand finals and test matches, his awards he's won with the refs. So, no, it is well deserved, this latest milestone. 444 games, the new referee's record. Here's the kick from Wishart. Who's out there 26 metres out from that northern line, metre in from the eastern touchline to make it 8-6 to the Melbourne Storm. Bear in mind, we've seen no successful goal kicks so far tonight. Here comes the right footer, Wishart, on its way and misses across the face. So none from one for Tyron Wishart, and it remains South Sydney 8, Melbourne 4, 19 gone, 21 left in this first half. NRL Friday on ABC Sport. Catherine Kingeroy says, evening gentlemen, all this talk about the refs, who has been the longest serving referee in rugby league. I remember Greg Hartley from the 70s and 80s, and the guy whose name escaped me from the 90s. That'd be Bill Harrigan.
Bill Harrigan,
yeah. I think he'd
be the one, yeah.
I think he'd be the answer, wouldn't he, as well?
Yeah.
Question about longest serving as far as overall years. I mentioned Dion, thank you. Dubbo Dragon, thank you. Get around the ground shortly as well. In fact, as Melbourne bring the ball back from the kickoff after their try to Tuamulatu Brown, around the grounds in the AFL second quarter in Melbourne. Geelong 31 leads Melbourne 29. I wonder if Hoffy's on the bench there. Hoffy does some stuff with the Demons. Of course, he'd be probably listening across our call as well if he's doing his work at the AFL. 40 out from that southern line here. Storm on the attack on play 3, and there's another strong run. Centre field down there from Oren Keeley. Played here for Grant. Bursts away. Low pass to his right now for Mini. Into the back of him goes Siegwald. To play it now, 35 out. Last play Storm. Hughes a couple of steps and a kick. Down towards that northeastern corner. Dufty has some pressure coming the other way from Falongo, but takes a comfortable catch and will play it there for South Sydney. 5 out from their line at northern end. They still lead 8-4 at the halfway stage of this opening half at Stadium Australia. Johnston dummy half goes short side left here now for Siegwald, and the Storm defence all over him. We're seeing Brendan Smith come from the field as well, so I get to MC very shortly. Brendan Smith, of course, a former Storm player himself. I mentioned Bronson Garlick, who's out there at dummy half and directs it open side right. Now through hands it comes to this right edge. Lomatungi tip wide now from Whiten off to Campbell Graham. He steps in field, shares it back now out there with Jamie Humphreys. So he's off the bench and into the action as well, and he'll play it 40 out from his own line. Last play for South Sydney. Running kick from Ashton Ward. down towards the chest of Sua Falongo, and he returns that kick to his own 30-metre line. And the Storm start their next set from there. South's 8, the Storm 4, 19 and a half left in this opening half, where, of course, we'll get the Commonwealth Games update with Zane Bojack at the break. And later on, we'll look back on that game where the Sydney Roosters 23, but the Newcastle Knights 22 at Hunter Stadium with Andrew Moore and the team. Played here by the Storm in the meantime, though. On tackle 4. Short side right they go. Pushed out by Keeley. Back to Grant. Back to some run here for Nick Meaney. Shrugs one tackle. Now collared and brought to ground by Kaloma-Tungi. 40 out from the South line. Second last play, Melbourne. Comes to Wishart. He dummies. Can't get the pass out the back here as Totola wraps him up. So last play, Storm. They trail 8 points to 4 here as now Hughes' kick goes up. Down towards that northwestern corner. Players hit the deck and Ash Klein straight away signals penalty here going south of Sydney's way on that infringement there from Moses Leo on Campbell Graham on fancy. Anyway, touch on we go, Michael Carianis.
Yeah, it was. Just hit before he had an opportunity to catch the ball there, Campbell Graham. Bronson Garlick's now just getting into an on-field assessment with the trainer now for South Sydney. Brandon Smith's gone up the tunnel. Looks like it's a leg issue for Brandon Smith.
It's a shame for him. He's been playing some good footy.
Yeah, he has been going great since he got himself some footy under his belt, and he's been real important for the Rabbitohs through the middle of the field, so hopefully that injury isn't too bad.
Penalty count 3-2 in South Sydney's way. Scoreline 8-4 in South Sydney's way. You're with Brett Sprigg alongside Dean Hallertau and Michael Carianis here at Stadium Australia. And again on this centre field run here for South Sydney, drag down ball and all is Lockie Hubner. So they've used Hubner off the bench as well as Jamie Humphreys, and potentially some news, as MC mentioned, about Brandon Smith as Garlick goes left-hand side. Duffy dummies the pass here. Tackled by Nick Meaney and just slammed suplex style into the turf, 40 out from Melbourne's line. South's on the attack here with Humphreys. He's tackled now by Hughes and Keeley. 30 out now. A couple of plays left in this set. Now the last as the kick from Ward goes high across the goals. Knocked backwards there by Campbell Graham. To the last now as Whiten puts in the kick. The only players back there in the end goal are in white jerseys. They being Melbourne Storm players. And Jerome Hughes slips one tackle, runs under the post. He'll get to the 10-metre line here at his own end. So Storm turn defence into attack quickly. And there's the try score. 2 Millard, 2 Brown on tackle 2. Tackle 25 out, 20 in from that far side. Meaney looks for a passing option here before he steps into the tackle of Meaney and also Kaloma-Tungi, and will now play at 35 out from that southern goal line here. Harry Grant to his right-hand side, trying to release Liero, and he gains half a dozen now, the lock forward. Off the deck, scooped up one-handed by Harry Grant, darts across the defensive line, shares it out there now with Oren Keeley, and he has the arm pinned down there by his former Dolphins teammate Lockie Hubner. We'll come back here and play it on second last, in fact now the last for the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, it was off the mark there from the play the ball, so Ash Klein pulls it back and they'll get to a kick here, the Storm.
South Sydney 8, Melbourne Storm 4. The kick does come from Tyron Wishart down towards Alex Johnston. Watched it high through the air, and now he returns it about 17 out from his own line, northern end of Stadium Australia. 16 and a half left before the break. It is still South Sydney 8, the Melbourne Storm 4. Get to your text shortly, 0467 920 222. With the around the grounds to come as well. But all eyes here on this massive game. 7th versus 11th. You'd argue both sides playing for their season. Yes, South are in the top 8, but they could well slide out if that injury, all those injury concerns and suspension catch up to them. Left to right, they shifted here at South Sydney with the fullback Dufty, and he's brought down there in the tackle of Clark and Meaney. Played on halfway, comes to Ward. Last play, Souths. Up goes the kick. Campbell Graham runs through here and runs straight into the fullback Falongo. The ball's pried loose and picked up here by Leo for the Melbourne Storm. He darts away. 2 quick for Ashton Ward. Takes on Walker, and Walker slows him down before he's settled down by Garlick, and he'll play at 30 out from his own line here. Wishart, the dummy to his left, and now he steps through centre field. Only gains a few more here now for the Storm. 7 short of the halfway. On the tackle 2 now for Melbourne. This next attacking 4A upfield. They trail 8 points to 4 as they're now inside South Sydney territory. Grant off to his right-hand side now. He took a Kamano makes the break. Has options here. Shrugs away Duffy. Pass to the inside now for Keeley. And Keeley tumbles in to score. Well, that was big Stefano at his absolute best. Broke the defensive line. Some long strides there for Stefano Kamano, and Oren Keeley is the beneficiary and scores Melbourne's second try. Locks the scores up at 8-all. Kick to come Melbourne. 14 left first half. ABC Sport, Dean Hallertau.
He's had a great start to the game, hasn't he, Stefano Kamano? He's had a couple of runs where he's almost threatened to be the provider in terms of points. It comes off on this occasion. It's pretty simple stuff. It's just a run down a short side, but he has been targeting those edge players at the halves and the back rowers, trying to sort of disrupt things, and he burst well into the backfield clear, and once he gets those legs going, as you say, the big strides, he looked pretty good. It's going to be a tough task for Duffy to cover. He actually does a good job to tie him up, but he can't tie up the ball, and the offload there back on the inside. Keeley, great support, and then enough pace to beat the covered defenders to get to the try line.
Their only try scorer last week for the Melbourne Storm, and now tries in back-to-back games. Stefano Kamano, touchline Michael Carianis.
Yeah, he got rid of Lockie Hubner, Cody Walker, Ewan Aiken on his way to setting up that try. Stefano Kamano and Oren Keeley mid-season purchase, already signed with the Storm for next season, but a handy acquisition at the halfway point of the season for him.
Yeah, scores his first try as a Melbourne Storm player, Oren Keeley. And here is Wishart, a slightly improved angle on his previous kick, which he missed. He's 24 out here and about 10 in from the eastern side. So 2 more points on the Oren Keeley try. I might say it was Kamano who's try assist. Yes, he misses, by the way. It was all but his try. Oren Keeley, of course, did score the try. Kamano with the assist, and it is 8 points all here after that missed kick from Tyron Wishart with 13:20 left in this first half. Around the grounds, AFL second quarter. Melbourne Demons 36 lead Geelong 31. Over in Perth, the Western Derby, Fremantle 16 leads the West Coast Eagles 13. Jersey Flag full time, by the way, Penrith 22, Parramatta 18. And to get to your text as well, 0467 920 222 as we get back underway here. From the kick-off, Falungo off here to Josh King, and he absolutely steamrolls the man down there in Tom Fletcher. So Fletcher's out there. They've used those 3 bench players already here at South Sydney, and Wayne Bennett with Hubner, Humphreys and Fletcher all being utilised in this first half so far. And there's a little half break now from Jack Howard of the Storm. 35 out from that southern line. Exploding away here is Alec McDonald, who lost a couple of grand finals at this venue. So he's in the action as well now for the Storm. They've also used Harry Grant off that bench so far as well. Here is their skipper, Grant, to his right-hand side now for Jerome Hughes. Kicks from 40 out, down to Johnston's wing, and he takes the catch there. The great Australian Rugby League try scorer. Feeds it off here now to Duffy, and a good post contact going there as he had a headlock punched on there for McDonald. So we'll play at 25 out from that northern line. It remains here. South Sydney 8, Melbourne 8 with 12:20 left in this first half. NRL Front on ABC Sports. Set restart now going South Sydney's way. That's the first going their way of this game so far. And through centre field, they bring the footy here with Keon Kolmatangi. Play at metre inside Melbourne territory. He rolls it back now for dummy half Humphreys. Left-hand side they go. Walker with a touch off to Duffy. And now Seagwell bounced off the tackle of Mini. Collected now 28 metres out from that southern line. Couple of plays left in this set for South Sydney. Walker across now to Hubner. He takes on Liero through centre field. Now it's 17 out. This will be second last for Souths, who levelled the score here, 8 points all with Melbourne. Flat ball from Walker off here now to Ewan Aiken, and he's claimed last play up in that far corner. Now it's been lost by Cody Walker. So that will be knocked on, and Melbourne's ball 10 metres out from that southern goal line. Here in Hallertau, it's 8 points all after Melbourne levelled things up with Oren Keeley a short time ago. 11:20 left in this first half.
Disappointing end of the set there for the Rabbitohs, and Cody Walker will be not happy with himself. They had a really good, they made a really good job of getting downfield with their attack, and then to drop it cold on the last play of that, it was what happened only moments ago with Jack Brighton as well. So we'll work on their control there at the end of sets for the Rabbitohs.
early tackle 3 here for Melbourne as Grant finds Cooper Clark, and he's wrestled to the turf down there by Totola and also Tom Fletcher. Play it now 35 out to his own line. Grant off to Clark, and now Hughes to the right-hand side. Mini makes light work of Seagold. Offload here. Flick pass was knocked down by Alex Johnston, and that will be then coming back for Melbourne on that 40-metre line in the southern half of Stadium Australia. 10:20 left in this first half. Shout out to Burls and his boy the Wiz, father and son, got the footy on backing the Bunnies. Kat says yes, it was Bill Hogan I was thinking of. Thank you, Kat. That's my, she calls it Alzheimer's disease. Great call, by the way. Thank you, Kat. Bert the Seagull, I'll give a shout out to me mate Kyle, who was a tragic Knights supporter. Head up, buddy. It has been tragic at times for the Knights. They've won some close ones and lost some close ones. They've now lost 3 games in a row by 2 points or less, which is extraordinary after they lost by a point to the Terry Evans field goal and the Roosters tonight. Melbourne here inside South Sydney territory. Grant fires it across left-hand side for Liero. 35 out, 20 in from that western side now. On tackle 4. Open side of the field now. Wishart to Hughes and the other runner Falongo. Inside ball, Mini. Tries to find the gap there with Aiken and Humphreys, and it closes quickly. 20 out, 20 in eastern side. Comes back here now for Jerome Hughes. He directs traffic. Liero put down there by Tom Fletcher. Last place Storm. 8 points all our scoreline here at Stadium Oz. Left-hand side. Grant to Hughes. Off here now. Is knocked down by the South Sydney defence, I thought. Still alive here for the double knock-on, says Ash Klein. So I fancy he'll come back here for a South Sydney play the ball, he's saying. 8 points all, South Sydney and the Melbourne Storm. Repeating, by the way, Captain's Challenge.
Captain's challenge from Melbourne, disputing the on-field decision of a knock-on. They believe he's tackled before the ball gets there. I think Ashton Ward actually gets a hand to the ball. I think he was spot on. He got in the way of Cooper Clark and the reception there. So I think it might go that way. Not for the early tackle, but Ashton Ward getting his hand. Or it could be an early tackle for the penalty infantry.
Let's have a listen to Brent Atkins in the bunker.
The ball hits Ashton Ward's hand first.
There we go.
The ball goes forward off Ashton Ward first into Cooper Clark. The challenge by the Melbourne Storm is successful.
So it'll be Melbourne scrum feed here.
You picked that up.
I did. Naked eye, it looked like it was off South Sydney first and not Melbourne. So a successful challenge for the Melbourne Storm. They'll have a full set now, 10 metres out from that northern goal line here at Stadium Australia. South Sydney 8, the Melbourne Storm 8 with 9 minutes left in this first half. And Brendan Smith's back out there, Michael Carianis.
Yeah, he is, and he's got that right leg strapped. They went up the tunnel to get some treatment on that right leg. He's on for Tavita Totola. He gets his first break after 39 minutes.
Centre field scrum here, 10 out from that northern line, which South are defending. Grant to his right-hand side now. The lightning pace of Falongo is cut down there by Walker. 5 out. The afters there for Walker on the ruck, I thought, but nothing doing. Play 2 now as Grant feeds off to Josh King in his 200th NRL game. Driven back by 3 South defenders who now play it 13 out from that northern line. Grant bursts from dummy half. Needs options infield now. Shares it with Hughes. Run down by Fletcher. Only a few out. Left-hand side of the post now for the Melbourne Storm. Grant goes left-hand side. Wishart catch and step. Takes on Kolomatangi. And that will be now set restart Melbourne as well for inside the 10. So a full set now. 5 out from South Sydney's line to break this 8 points all deadlock. Across it comes Liero. He straightens up in front of the post. And now Kolomatangi gets him. 5 metres out there with the tackle with Ewan Aiken. Now play it here to Grant. Looks left but goes right. Back to Jerome Hughes. On to Mini. He steps back on the inside now. Shares it with Grant. Falongo burnt Duffy for pace, but now surrenders in the tackle of Garlic. He'll now play it 13 out, left-hand side of the post. Grant to Hughes, back on the inside now for McDonald. Run down from behind, metre out from that South Sydney line. Couple of plays left here as Grant waits at dummy half. It was bounced on there by the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and Duffy, Ash Klein saying that will in fact be penalty Melbourne. Sure what Dufty was thinking in that, whether he thought it was just all fair, but the repeat penalty here for the Melbourne Storm.
I think Hubner being left on the ground there gets in the way of the ball, and Harry Grant plays it pretty well. The ball is stuck in the ruck, so the penalty had to be awarded. And then I think Mac Dufty just dived in it after Grant let go of it.
Shout out to the guys on Crew 1 at Wombo from Acco the Eel, just knocking back some crafties. Good on you, Wombo. Sounds good. The crew there on Crew 1 at Wombo. So that means 8 points all here, Souths and Melbourne, and they will take the 2 here at the Melbourne Storm. So Tyron Wishart places the ball on the tee, about 14 metres out and 21 metres in from the western touchline. Back to Michael Carianis.
Yeah, Nick Meaney's got that right quad heavily strapped at the moment, so that's why he's not goal kicking. Tyron Wishart hasn't kicked a goal yet, so opportunity to throw this one over.
I think a lot of admin questions, Dino. I just want to hear from Rocky John. I'll wait for the Wishart kick here, by the way, because this will break our 8-all deadlock. South did score the first 8 points of the game through Campbell Graham and Jack White, but since then tries to Tumalatu, Brown and Oren Keeley. Wishart having missed both conversions so far. This is a penalty kick, slight angle left-hand side, right footer, makes no mistake. And it does in fact make it Melbourne 10, South Sydney 8. Now I want to explain how Matt Dufty is allowed to play. The special dispensation to allow him to play was only due to Jai Gray injury, and South's unable to fill fullback position. Gray has been back for a long time now. Obviously Dufty's still been playing number 1 from Rocky John.
Yeah, I'm not right up to date with my salary cap rules, but I think he would have had to been elevated to the squad, the top squad. So he would have got the injury replacement at that time, but elevated to the squad after that.
There we go.
Oh, actually, MC will probably...
MC, hang on, let's get to MC shortly as we get this. Josh King runs into 3 South defenders here, 15 out from that southern line. Down to you, MC.
Yeah, round 12 you need that injury dispensation before you can call someone outside your top 30 into the team.
Okay, I knew between you two guys you'd figure it out. 5.5 minutes left here in this first half. You're with Brett Sprigg alongside Dean Hollitow and Michael Carianis here. Melbourne have the lead, 10 points to 8 late in this first half after earlier the Sydney Roosters 23 beat Newcastle Knights 22 at Hunter Stadium. Here's a run from one of the try scorers, Keeley. Play at 45 out to his own line. Grant off to his left now for his reliable first man, Jerome Hughes. And now back on the inside for Jack Howarth. And Howarth is now 40 out from South Sydney's line. So a nice end of the set here as the kick from Wishart comes and lands about 15 out from that northern goal line. Dufty is in there first. And the South fullback will play it. 20 out, 20 in from that western side of the ground. Ward dummy half, waste no time, shares it with Graham. He scored the first try of the game after 2 minutes here at Stadium Australia. Ward across to his left-hand side now again on his centre field run for the Rabbitohs and Jack White. He scored their second try. 30 out from that northern line. As Fletcher tries to give them something up this right edge in attack for South. Dummy half, Humphreys off to Ward. He gets nailed down there by Jack Howarth. And 5 inside Melbourne territory. South's last play will come. Pass across here to Walker. Puts up a high left foot kick. Still Folongo gets down the 10-metre line. Almost spills it. Recovers on the way down here, the Melbourne fullback. And now gets over his own 20-metre line there before being met by Fletcher. Remains the Storm 10, Bunnies 8. 4 minutes left in this first half. NRL Friday on ABC Sport. You're with Brett Sprigg alongside Dean Hollitow and Michael Carianis. Dummy half here, Hughes. Short side right here on to Nick Meaney, who of course is Perth bound next year on a 3-year deal. Grant from dummy half. Steals the first few himself and now shares it off infield to that man in Liero. Played to Meaney. Hughes a no-look pass back on the inside for Alec McDonald. And he hits the deck and the tackle of Humphreys. 40 outs in the field. Dummy half, Josh King of all people. Hand pass off to his left now for Wishart's kick and taken down there by Graham, who's nailed in that northwestern corner by Jack Howarth, and he'll now play it about 6 metres out from his own line here, South Sydney. Back on the attack, 10 points to 8.
Yeah, just watching Harry Grant in the back line. He didn't chase that kick. He was holding on to the back of his head. It looks like he's carrying a right leg injury, maybe a hamstring by the looks of things.
He's hobbling your way, MC. Down to you very shortly. Harry Grant showing signs of discomfort here. Melbourne still leads 10 points to 8. 2:50 left in this first half. Can South take advantage here? Walker on the run. Dragged down from behind by McDonald. And he'll play it. metres short of halfway. Dummy half Humphreys off to Ashton Ward, kicks for distance, a long probing ball down into that southern half of Stadium Australia. Bounced up on its point there for Moses Leo, and Leo's sandwiched between Fletcher and also Hubner, which brings him to a stop. Played there for Wishart, and Wishart this time met solidly by Whiten. 25 out, 20 in western side. Dummy half Tolau off to his fullback Suafalongo. He burns one tackle, now two, gets to the halfway, has to beat Duffy, steps on the infield, now the outside. Oh, that was superb from Suafalongo. Fancy footwork and the finish as well. And of course, a fantastic arrow celebration from Melbourne's increasingly classy fullback. It's 14-8 Storm, kick to come. Minute 50 left in the first half.
Well, his kick returns have been exceptional tonight. Suafalongo, he's so sharp, as we all know, and he's fearless, I should say, as well. He's willing to take on the defenders that are coming at him. He just pirouettes there. It was a standard hit up off the back of the kick return prior to that, and he pirouettes through a few lazy defenders, and then once he's in the backfield, he accelerates and he takes on Matt Duffy. He turns him inside out, and in the end, Duffy just couldn't believe it was happening. He turns almost 360, and then he gives up on the play. He doesn't back his own speed. We know how fast Matt Duffy is, but once he was beaten, he thought he was no chance of getting him, so he just pulls up the handbrake and lets Suafalongo go all the way to score another 4-pointer.
Cheeky grin there from the Melbourne Storm fullback. It's his 14th try of the year at the touchline, Michael Carianis.
He did everything but improve the position for his goal kicker, because he could have done that. There was no one near him. Matt Duffy gave up on the chase and said he scores in that corner, give a difficult conversion for Tyron Wishart. But as Helen mentioned, he'd been threatening a kick return break. I don't know about a kick return try, but a break, because it looked like he was making plenty of meters up against the Tyron South Sydney defence. Just on Harry Grant, he threw his head onto the field, straight up the tunnel. Just going to get confirmation, but it looked like it was a hamstring injury for Harry Grant.
Okay, it's not good news for the Storm, despite their 14-8, could be 16-8 lead coming up here. They didn't have the ball for the first 5 minutes of the game, Dean Hallertau.
Yeah, they've certainly turned around. They missed the jump, but they've made it look easy getting up the other end of the field and now scoring tries.
Wishart's won from 3 with that penalty a short time ago. Here he is, 25 out, about 5 in from the western side. Lining up his kick here in these last seconds of the opening half. Starts it right, comes back beautifully. Wishart now is his second attempt, or his successful second from his previously missed 2, if that makes sense. He's 2 from 4, 1 penalty, 1 conversion, and it's the Melbourne Storm 16. The South Sydney Rabbitohs 8 here, NRL Friday on ABC Sport. 0467 920 222. It's David from Kellyville. Wow, Storm lose their main man and Harry Grant, and Sewer delivers. He's been fantastic. He's one of 4 players sort of featured in every game for them this year, Suafalongo, and he's made his impact in almost every game.
Yeah, he's enormous, and he's so exciting to watch, and it's almost worth the price of admission.
We'll keep an eye on Harry Grant and the news that we may get through half-time as far as the Melbourne Storm skipper is concerned. Josh King brings it back here into Fletcher and Kolomatangi. Play it 17 out to his own line here. Toll our dummy half off here to the run of Cooper Clark, and he will play it now. He's lost a number as well, Cooper Clark. He's number 1 now. He is the actual number 1. Falungo, he slips a tackle, and now collected by Uwanake on the half-time siren. And that was a game of real momentum swings, violent ones, because I mentioned Souths didn't give Storm the ball until about the 5-minute mark. They scored through Campbell Graham in the 2nd minute and Jack Whiten in the 7th, and Seawold missed both conversions. It was 8-0 South Sydney at that stage, and then from there, Tuamala to Brown at the 16th minute, Oren Killier the 24th, and Suafalongo in the 37th minute. The 3 try scorers plus the penalty goal there, which gave the Storm the lead at one stage, makes it 16-8. Melbourne's lead over South Sydney here at Stadium Australia.
Yeah, well, it's an impressive comeback, I'd say, from Melbourne with the start that they had. Obviously, things started really good for the the South Sydney Rabbitohs. They scored a try in the first series of sets that they had. It was the penalty that Trent Toilau gave away, which enabled him to get into that attacking position. And a pretty soft one from Campbell Graham near the line. He just ducks under some, some defenders that just weren't focused and weren't concentrating on the job at hand. And, it was a bit of a worry. I felt like the Storm were on the heels, not really getting forward defensively, and the South Sydney Rabbitohs were rolling down the field quite comfortably, and they were able to turn that early possession into points. But then the Storm, once they got the ball, it was a bit the same for the defence of the Rabbitohs. They weren't moving up with any great line speed. They weren't putting a lot into their contact, and the Storm were able to get downfield quite easy. They were running 70 and 80 metre sets almost every time, and once they got those tries and got rolling, you could see the confidence build. And that Su'a-Fa'alogo try was just a bit of individual brilliance, but even the one for Oren Keeley was individual brilliance from Stefano Utoikamanu. Once he got through the line, big front row was a pretty much straightforward hit up, bust through a couple of tired defenders, and then strides into the backfield, picks up some support. So pretty soft stuff, I'd say, in defence from either team, but the Storm certainly worked themselves into that high completions as well, which is always going to get you on the right side of the scoreboard if you can complete high.
95% completion for the Melbourne Storm in that first half, 81% for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, who, as I said, had all the possession in the first 5 minutes, but it's been all of Melbourne just about since then. 55% possession for the Storm in that first half. Penalty count 3-all, set restarts 2-1 going Melbourne's way. Michael Carianis, your halftime summation for the sideline.
Yeah, it was a bizarre first half because South Sydney totally dominated, came out with the better energy and were really good. And then you look at what Melbourne dished out to end that half. It was off the back of, as Halla said, some really great performances from Stefano Utoikamanu firstly, and then Su'a-Fa'alogo at the back just really opened this game up. So, really evenly poised at the moment. Repeating, Harry Grant won't be back with that hamstring injury, so they've got a little bit to overcome the Storm.
Okay, thanks, MC. More from you after news and our Commonwealth Games update as well. Around the grounds, AFL half-time. Geelong 64 leads Melbourne 44 at the MCG. Quarter time in Perth. West Coast 19 leads Fremantle 18. Earlier in the NRL, the Roosters 23 beat the Knights 22. More on that later on. We'll get their ABC News very shortly, but first, Zane Bojack joins us from the Commonwealth Games studio. Zano.
Spriggy, 14 gold medals up for grabs on day one in Glasgow. It's overcast conditions. It's a balmy 17 degrees over there in Scotland. Most of the events are indoors, luckily, including the 3x3 basketball at the Scottish Event Campus. Australia opened their men's campaign that defeated New Zealand 21-15 in their opening pool clash. As the name suggests, there's only 3 players on the court for each team. It's first to 21 or the highest score after 10 minutes. And Perth, Jonah Antonio, he found nothing but net outside the arc to secure the victory with 3 minutes remaining. The Aussie men now trying to turn Birmingham silver into Glasgow gold. They're next on court just after 2 o'clock Australian time when they face Nigeria. Our Aussie Kangaroos. Now, this is an Indigenous name for kangaroos. That's the nickname of our men's and women's 3x3 basketball teams. They battled Kenya, and they're trying to turn Birmingham bronze into Glasgow gold. They were ruthless. They defeated Kenya 21-5. They had more than 4 minutes left. In the lawn bowls, our men's singles champion, Aaron Wilson, he's nicknamed Disco. Well, he's definitely dancing at the moment. He's got the weight of history on his shoulders. He's chasing a 3rd consecutive Commonwealth Games gold medal. He's playing on indoor carpet for the first time, but he is loving it. He scored a comfortable 2 sets to love victory over his Namibian opponent, Waylon Wenzel. He's undefeated in 2 matches. He played on day 0. Yesterday, women's pair Dawn Heyman and Kelsey Cottrell were in action. They defeated Zambia. Today, they're in a little bit of a tough battle with Guernsey. They're currently behind 6-1 in the opening set. The artistic gymnastics is underway, but we don't have any Aussie results in yet. Our Aussie team of Ritam Malik, Jesse Moore, James Hardy, Benjamin Foster and True Hagens are in Subdivision 3. They don't start till after 2 o'clock tonight at the arena. This day of team event action doubles as qualifying for the men's individual apparatus finals. At Tollcross International Swimming Centre, which is where everyone is watching very closely, the first Aussie in the pool was 20-year-old Queenslander Amelia Webber. She finished second to New Zealander and world number 4 Erica Fairweather in the 400-metre freestyle. In the next heat, Lani Pallister, who's one of the favourites, finished just in front of fellow Aussie Jenna Forrester, but slightly slower than Fairweather in 4:06.88. There's no semi-finals. The top 8 going straight through the final at 4:07 Australian Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning. The Aussies easily qualifying in 2nd, 3rd and 4th respectively. Australia's won this event 14 times. One of the hot favourites, Lani Pallister, chatted to Channel 7 Sevens. Annabelle Williams alongside fellow qualifier Jenna Forrester.
Yeah, it was good. I think I just wanted to get in and blow one out of the way a little bit. The pool's incredible. It's so bright and there's so many people here, so it'll be an exciting final tonight with the girls.
It's certainly an amazing atmosphere in here for heat sessions. Jenna, I mean, having the three of you, you're all training partners and friends. Are you that way until you stand behind the blocks and then you're the fiercest rivals, or is it comforting having your teammates?
Yeah, I feel like it's actually really comforting. Before we walked out, Lani was like, I can actually hold your hand if you want. So no, we're all really good friends and it's just amazing to stand up behind the blocks and we just know that we've all got each other's backs.
Lani Polestar and Jenna Forrester, care of Channel 7. Jenna, back in the pool, she swam the 200-metre backstroke straight after, won her heat, qualified alongside WA's Iona Anderson. 23-year-old Queenslander Hannah Fredericks was fastest. It's an open race because Kaylee McEwen, the Olympic champ, withdrew before the games with glandular fever. In the men's 200 metres individual medley, 21-year-old Victorian Will Petrick has qualified fastest in his games debut. Fellow Aussie Brendan Smith will also swim for gold after qualifying sixth. In the women's 100-metre freestyle S13, that's para swimming for visual impairment, Jenna Jones was the fastest qualifier, with 14-year-old Mia Hogan fourth and Birmingham bronze medalist Kirili Hayes sixth. They'll all swim for gold. In the men's 50-metre backstroke, Queensland Isaac Cooper and Victoria's Henry Allen qualified for the semi-finals and sixth and seventh fastest. And our relay teams are not far away, Spriggy, including Meg Harris and Molly O'Callaghan and Kyle Chalmers. They're coming up very shortly. In the NRL at halftime, it's Melbourne 16, South 8, with Brett Sprigg and the team back shortly. Let's head to the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Melanie Scott. A 23-year-old Aboriginal man has been identified as the person who died during an attempted arrest in the Adelaide CBD yesterday. Rachel Merritt reports.
SA police were called to West Terrace yesterday afternoon and say they found a man armed with a piece of wood outside the Elephant and Castle Hotel. Police say the man dropped the wood, and when they moved to arrest him, he resisted and a struggle broke out. Assistant Commissioner Ian Parrott says the 23-year-old fell unresponsive shortly after being handcuffed, and despite CPR being performed, he died at the scene.
This was a dynamic incident which lasted minutes.
Police say the incident was captured on officers' body-worn cameras and will form part of a police commissioner's inquiry. A report will also be prepared for the coroner.
The Northern Territory's Minister for Children and Families says she will work with anyone genuinely willing to help keep children safe, slamming the resignation of a Child Forum's chair as a media stunt. Oliver Chaseling reports.
Yesterday, the CEO of Aboriginal Health Service, Danila Dilba, Rob McPhee, resigned as chair of a Child Health and Education Committee, blaming what he called a lack of commitment from the NT government on closing the gap targets. In a statement, Minister for Children and Families, Robin Carl, said Mr McPhee had never raised his concerns with her directly and held a direct line to the government but never used it. In his resignation statement, Mr McPhee accused a government-led scrutiny committee of mocking and dismissing expert advice in recommending Parliament pass this week's controversial changes to child protection laws. In response, Minister Carl says Mr McPhee is jumping on the bandwagon of political advocates trying to undermine the laws.
The Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry says it's hard to understand the rationale behind new tariffs slapped on Australian imports into the United States. The Trump administration is imposing a 12.5% tariff on imports from 60 countries, saying it's over concerns about forced labour and slavery. The Chamber's CEO, Andrew McKellar, says Australia has one of the best reputations in the world when it comes to combating modern slavery.
We are one of the countries with the highest standards to protect against modern slavery, forced labour conditions, wherever it is in the supply chain. In fact, Australia is a much better rated country than the United States in that regard. So honestly, it's very puzzling.
Australia's last surviving Kokoda campaign veteran, Reginald James Chard, has died at the age of 102. Chard fought in Papua New Guinea during World War II, surviving repeated bouts of malaria. Education Minister Jason Clare and RSL Australia led tributes, remembering Chard's lifelong commitment to preserving the legacy of the Kokoda campaign. Before enlisting in 1942, Chard was an apprentice baker in Sydney. This is ABC News.
Get ready for a year of Test cricket like you've never heard before.
Hits him hard and high, straight back down the ground for 6.
That's an amazing shot.
12 months, 20 Test matches. New Zealand at home over summer. The 3 most iconic overseas tours. The 150th anniversary Test under lights at the MCG. And it all begins August 13 with Australia versus Bangladesh on ABC Listen. ABC sports coverage of the 2026 NRL Premiership.
Peter will play it now on the last for South. A burrow from dummy half, and Campbell Graham has scored the try. And Souths make Melbourne pay with that first penalty. They keep possession from that very first set of the game, and Campbell Graham does stretch and score the try. 20 out from Melbourne's line. Comes to Ward now. The run from Walker. Directs the pass was right now to Whiten. And Whiten saw a huge gap and slides in to score in the southwestern corner of Stadium Australia. For South's second try. 5 out left-hand side of the post. Dummy half Grant across to Wishart. Catch and release now for Hughes. The run there and following. Good sweep line run. Here goes the right-hand slide and sliding in to score. Nice effort out there from Tuamala Brown. The Storm are in at long last. Grant off to his right-hand side now for Tuamala. Makes the break. Has options here. Shrugs away Duffy. Pass on the inside now for Keeley. And Keeley tumbles in to score. Well, that was big Stefano at his absolute best. Dummy half Tolau off to his fullback Suafolongo. He burns one tackle, now 2, gets to the halfway, has to beat Duffy, steps on the infield, now the outside. Oh, that was superb from Suafolongo. Fancy footwork and the finish as well. And of course, a fantastic arrow celebration from Melbourne's increasingly classy fullback.
ABC sports coverage of the 2026 NRL Premiership
On your radio, ABC Sport Digital Radio.
and ABC Listen.
Yeah, highlights of the opening half here at Stadium Australia, where Melbourne Storm 16 leads South Sydney 8 after, as you heard there, the first 2 tries of the game going the Rabbitohs' way, and then the Melbourne Storm since that point with Tuamala Brown, Keeley and Folongo. But the bad news for them is the hamstring injury for their captain, Harry Grant. So we'll get some more from Michael Carianis on the touchline very soon, but it sounds like we won't see him for the remainder of this evening.
Yeah, and obviously that's the reason why they went with Troy Toilau to start with. I believe he was carrying the injury into the game, or maybe some awareness, as they say, and it was not good seeing him stuck behind the kick chase. He didn't even bother getting in the line, and then he noticed straight away the trainer was out there and he was taken from the field. So fingers crossed for the Melbourne Storm skipper that it's not too bad, but it was pretty clear on the field that it didn't look great.
Earlier in Newcastle, the Sydney Roosters 23 beat the Newcastle Knights 22. The Daly Cherry Evans field goal, the difference there in the end, and Luke Lewis gave 3 points, James Tedesco, 2 to Francis Manolele, who, by the way, scored tries in reserve grade and first grade on the same day, which is rare. And Reece Robson, 1 point there. And that means that the Newcastle Knights, I mentioned this earlier, they've now lost, their past 3 games by 2 points, 2 points, 1 point. And in fact, their past 4 losses all by 2 points or less. The first of those was against Melbourne. And their past 4 wins all by 6 points or less. So it's been an arresting season if you're a Newcastle Knights fan.
Yeah, well, it doesn't get much easier with the injuries we've seen for them on the field.
Dylan Lucas ankle and Dylan Brown knee. So, more on that post-game with Andrew Moore, Luke Lewis and John Gibbs as the Melbourne Storm make their way back out onto Stadium Australia, and in front of not a huge crowd here on this Friday night, I've got to say. Obviously, they turned out a big number a couple of weeks ago for Jai Arrow's birthday. This is the last South's game of July, so we're still seeing quite a few Arrow celebrations, which is fantastic. I mentioned in the Folongo try, the Storm were out there, and out come the South Sydney Rabbitohs to meet them, and we'll see if they can find their way back into the game. Dean Hallertau, what's paramount for them?
Yeah, well, they just need to get better on their kick chase. Obviously, we mentioned about Folongo and the work that he's doing out of the backfield, but Moses Leo's made plenty of metres himself as well. A couple of little mini breaks, which has propelled his set off the start of their yardage set. So that's something that South really need to focus on. I mentioned both teams defensively. The line speed's lacking. They really need to get up and try and sort of impress themselves with their defence.
Mike says Harry's handy will be a great concern to Belly. Storm losing their key player could wreck their finals chances. Well, if they weren't wrecked already, they have a buy up their sleeve. And as I said, they've only missed the finals 3 times in their history, twice under Craig Bellamy. Second half underway here, by the way, and Bellamy's side will have first use of the footy from that South Sydney kickoff. And Josh King, in his 200th first grade appearance, is surrounded there by 3 in the tackle. Brandon Smith and also Colin Matangi out there to greet him. It comes across here to Trent Liero, 25 out, 20 in from that western side. Down to Michael Carianis on the touchline very shortly for his halftime update. As you said, no Harry Grant due to the hamstring injury, and now Keeley, his left hammy very heavily strapped, pops out the ball back here for Trent Toilau. Over halfway he goes, dummies the pass there with Hughes on the outside, and now Toilau is tackled 40 or so out from that southern line. Wishart coming half to Hughes, and now Josh King offloads back here for Cooper Clark. He'll play it 35 out, 20 in from the far side. This is last play, Melbourne Storm, 16-8 their lead. Up goes the kick on last, and Duffy takes the catch here for South Sydney, and they'll start their next set. Their first of this second half, 15 out from their own line, southern end. Let's see what Whiten can do up that far side. Play at 20 out here, comes across to Campbell Graham. They each scored in that first half for South Sydney, and Cooper Clark gets in the tackle with Wishart. He's only half Brendan Smith. Across here it comes now again, Humphreys, and now tackled around the legs. Meany gets a hold of Seagold. Play at 30 out now, Cody Walker. They choose a left edge this time now. The South Sydney Rabbitohs playing it now. Here's Alex Johnston off to Walker, and Ward will kick to end the set. Down towards Suafolongo. Takes it 12 out from his own line. Feeds it back now for Tuamalatu Brown. It's with his first career try in that first half, by the way, and he returns it to that 30-metre line here for the Melbourne Storm. So end-to-end stuff early in this second half, and 16-8 remains the Melbourne lead here as Folongo couldn't get the offload away here, and Toilau sets up from dummy half 30 out. Goes short side left, off to Moses Leo. Slips the Whiten tackle. Well, not so there with Ward coming in from the side and Fletcher, and they're still tangled up here in the ruck. He'll play it 40 out. Off here now for Howarth. Room to step, not much else though. Offloads back now for Wishart, and now the Trent Liero is brought down ball and all by Keon Kolomatangi. Play it just behind the halfway. Toilau off to King, and now Hughes comes right hand side. Folongo inside ball now for Meany, and Meany is brought down desperately by Cody Walker. 35 out, 20 in from that western side. Short side right, they come to Jerome Hughes. Off a step, his kick. Keeley watching it. So too out there, Tuamalatu Brown. He's wrapped up here on last, and it will be changeover. South's back on the attack, 15 out from their own line. Melbourne 16, South Sydney 8. Let's go back to the touchline, Michael Carianis.
Speaking of Storm officials during the halftime break, they think it's a low to medium hamstring issue for Harry Grant. Obviously, it's hard to tell before you get scans, but obviously concerns around how many weeks he's going to spend on the sideline.
Every week matters when you're 8 wins and 10 losses, facing potentially the first missed finals for this club in 16 years. So 2010 was the last time they missed the finals, and of course that was the year they were playing for no points. Here's White, and he spins into one tackle on that far side. There's Wishart there to greet him. 5 short of the halfway. Walker dummy half off to Keon Kolomatangi. Quick gain of a dozen now on that carry, and he's 40 out from Melbourne's line. Last play though, South Sydney, who trails 16 points to 8. It does come back to Ward. Right foot drop punt, high down towards that 10-metre line, and Suafolongo returns it there with Walker waiting for him. He'll play it 10 metres out from his own line, all at the end of Stadium Australia. Thank you, Jodes, for your text. Jodes in Mackay. Enjoy listening to Spriggy Dean and MC. Get to some more longer text shortly as well, and around the grounds as well, as it's been end-to-end stuff. Ball in play, no time off in this second half so far. No change to our halftime scoreline. 16-8 Melbourne through these first 4.5 minutes of the second 40. NRL Friday on ABC Sport. Humphreys and Kolomatangi tackle Keeley. Plays it now for Toilau. They thought it was full there to Josh King, and Josh King with a strike strong post contact right here over halfway. Now play it here on this last play. 40 out from South Sydney's line. Running kick from Jerome Hughes down to the wing. Taken by Johnston, and he will get up to play it now. About 16 out from his own line at the southern end.
It's been a real grind these opening 5 minutes of the second half. Both teams completing high and getting through their sets, getting to a kick and then turning their attention to defence with some good kick chases. So certainly for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, they're doing a better job on far longer when they're getting through on their kick chasing.
Tackle 3, South Sydney. Brandon Smith swings it across here now for Humphreys, and now Ward onto Walker to Whiten, and Whiten is cannoned into out there by Moses Leo. Play at 40 out from his own line, and over that halfway line goes Fletcher. Clark brings him to the ground. Play it now, Ashton Ward to his left now for Humphreys. Catch, and quite an awkward kick here from Jamie Humphreys with the bright blue boots down towards Farlongo, and he had his head ripped off down there by Clomatungi. He was low, said the ref, so Clomatungi went low as well, and nothing doing by way of a penalty for Melbourne. So they reel on quickly, and now Jack Howarth goes to fend off Seagold, opposite number. Play at 30 out. Hughes off to Toilau, and now again on this near side of the ground, it is in the hands of Nick Meaney. He'll play it 35 out. Toilau off to Keeley, met by a strong defensive wall of Cardinal and Myrtle. 40 out, 20 in western side. This is second last play now. Toilau across the left, and now Wishart gets involved to Farlongo. Fires the pass left here. They're still going. Leo gets it from Howard. Steps in field there. Swallowed up down there by Humphreys. Play at 35 out. 5 in from that far side. Last play Melbourne. 16-8 their lead after 7 minutes in this second half. Offloaded here by Hughes, and now Farlongo bursts away, 30 out. Shares it now with Meaney. He's got some space to work in. His kick was taken sharply down there by Duffy. It went on the full, straight into the clutches there of the South Sydney fullback. Play it there for Seawell. Johnston tries to get away here, but he's met solidly down there by Keeley. So South's back on the attack this time. End-to-end stuff in Hallertau here at Stadium Australia, or it's still Melbourne 16, South Sydney 8.
Yeah, but some likely attack from the Melbourne Storm, and Cyril Farlongo, wherever he goes, options start to open up as we see the South Sydney.
Here they go, and there is the break made from Duffy. Over halfway he goes. Wishart with him. Wishart's second effort defensively gets him. 35 out here. It is only, play 4 in fact for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So it was late in the set, but here they go from right to left, and that pass of walking into Ugly. Over the western side, they're looking for Johnston. It was nowhere near him, and it remains Melbourne 16, South Sydney 8, with 7.5 gone in this second half.
There, just as I was talking about the joy that Farlongo was having, you see the opposition fullback there and Duffy make a clean break down the right-hand side. But when they get back to this left-hand side, you could see the pass was there from Cody Walker. There was space out wide. He had Alex Johnston, so he goes for the floater over the top, but it's a poor pass straight across the sideline.
Let's get back to MC on the touchline.
Yeah, shocking ball there from Cody Walker when his side finally had some momentum, and they got some love again on Melbourne's left-hand side of the field. Jack Howard was the one that bit in, and he's had a poor game defensively on that left-hand side.
30 out. Out from their own line here, the Melbourne Storm. It's funny how the narrative has shifted across, the prospects of these two sides because of the injuries and the suspension, of course, for David Fafita for South Sydney. But as I said, South's are 7th, Storm 11th, and yet we're talking in terms as if Melbourne are sort of maybe an incumbent top 8 side versus South, who are in danger of sliding out. Last play here for the kick up in the air, sets a task for Duffy, takes it on his own 10-metre line, swings the pass across now for Johnston, straightens his run there as Meaney now collects him, and he'll play it 17 out from those southern uprights here for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. 8.5 minutes played second half. You're with Dean Hallertau, Michael Carianis, I'm Brett Sprigg. As I get a set restart here, South Sydney. John from Campbelltown texts to say that I shouldn't mention myself first. Maury always mentions himself last. He'll say Luke Lewis, John Gibbs, I'm Andrew Moore. I just do it differently, but thank you, John, for the reminder. Left to right they go. Off to Jack Whiten. He fends off Cooper Clark, still going Whiten. Offloads now for Colomatungi, and he runs straight to Josh King. Second phase here again, back to Humphreys. Overlap comes now for Fletcher. He darts away. Wishart chasing him. He was ankle tapped by Wishart. Desperate stuff as Fletcher will now play it. 18 out from that northern line, and still a few plays left in the set now for South. They trail 16-8. Right to left they come Ward back on the inside now. Back-to-back set restarts. Walker recovers the ball here. Play it 6 outs in the field. Smith burrows all the way from that part of the ground and goes in and scores the try. Brandon Smith burrowed a full 7 metres, the wombat that he is, and scores a try under the posts. 16-12, kick to come south, and didn't the home side need that?
Yeah, well, it was down the right side again for the South Sydney Rabbitohs where they make a break. They get past the cover defence, and then Tyron Wishart, he's had to do a number of cover tackles. He gets the ankle tap there on the South Sydney Rabbitohs, number 20, and Thomas Fletcher, and then they come back through to the middle. They get in the post. Cody Walker almost goes through himself. More cover defence from the Storm, and then the Wombat, as you call him, he gets down low and he pushes his body through. I think the first time he was actually held up, but they weren't able to contain him. He bounces through them once more and slams the ball down on his second effort in the in-goal.
Touchline, Michael Carianis.
Yeah, Brandon Smith has looked gassed for the last 3 minutes. Wasn't getting to dummy half, was struggling getting back defensively, then sees an opportunity to score a try, and he's found some energy.
Brandon Smith, yeah, his first try since he came back. So I saw him speaking during the week about being 300 days sober, or plus a days sober. He's spoken about his battle with alcohol and all the rest of it. So he's back playing some good footy here, Brandon Smith, and tonight against one of his former sides. So 16-12, 11 minutes played here in this second half. David did call it early and said South Knights and Manly are gone for season 2026. Great coverage tonight, by the way. Hallertau's views are insightful and always accurate. That they are, David from Kellyville. Nice to hear from you. Here is the kick now from Seagold directly in front. He was none from 2 earlier, and this won't trouble him. On the Brandon Smith try. I get a 2-point ball game here at Stadium Australia. So Melbourne 16, South Sydney 14. Our scoreline here with under half an hour left in the game. Long-time listener, first time on the hotline. Had to get my grandson to message in. Dean, you work at the NRL. Trust me, it's a nice, easy question. Have hip drops always been in the game, or are they new to the modern game, says Graham from the Gold Coast?
No, they've been around for a while. I think the identification of them's what's the only change. And I actually had a few hip drops on me when I was a player, and that was over 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So they have been around for a while.
Seagold kicking one from 3. Rowdy Andy says the way the injuries are going by grand final day, there'll be no one left. Yeah, so Harry Grant, the biggest of those out of this game with the hamstring. The club hopeful it's nothing serious, obviously, with just this run home to come in season 2026. He came off the bench tonight and had the hamstring concern late in the first half. And I guess that the context around the Roosters win over Newcastle earlier was the issues, certainly for the Knights, Dylan Lucas and Dylan Brown, ankle and knee respectively. On the left they come here to Johnson. Over halfway he goes. Back on the inside for his fullback. Oh no! Ash Klein calls them back, forward pass. Johnston to Dufty on that 30-metre line. And so it will be here. Melbourne's ball in that part of the ground here. And Souths will not go ahead.
Yeah, but worrying signs here for the edge defence once more of the Melbourne Storm. This time it's on their right side defence, the left side attack for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And Cody Walker throwing his arms up, full speed. Alex Johnston in the left side. He looks back on the inside. Dufty in a good position, but called back by Ash Klein, who I've got to say was in a good position.
So was MC. Did you call it, Michael?
Yeah, forward pass. The issue was Jerome Hughes was in between, and Alex Johnson tried to just get around him, and that's why he went forward. So he definitely forward. It won against. Oh, that was genuine when we won against the head there.
Ooh, that is rare. Modern footy.
Should have been play on.
Scrum feed here, 30 out centre field. Thank you, Michael Carianis. Storm 16, Souths 14. We've played 12 and a half minutes in this second half. NRL Friday on ABC Sport. 12 out from the base of the scrum off to Wishart, and he stands in the tackle of Fletcher. It goes all the way back to that 30-metre line. So a -1 metre gain there on that run from Tyron Wishart. And they'll play it now, tackle 2 for the Storm, who lead here 16 points to 14. So it is a tight game again. South have found their momentum, their mojo, in the absence of Harry Grant with a hamstring concern. Played out there by Cooper Clark. Through hands it comes centre field. Hughes into Keeley, and Keeley now backs his way into Colomatungi. Play it better shot of halfway with a couple left in this set for the Melbourne Storm with a 2-point lead to their name. Hughes back from right to left they come. Wishart dragged down there just inside South Sydney territory by Fletcher, and now it comes from Hughes. That kick down that far side, added back by Moses Leo, picked up on the bounce by Ward, so South turn defence into attack quickly, and the young halfback will start their next set. 28 metres out from his own line at southern end, and about 5 steps in from that far touchline in front of the Kathy Freeman stand. Melbourne 16, South 14. Played here now by Jack White, 35 out. Off to Campbell Graham. Cooper Clark's all over him. So to Liero. 40 metres out here on that red line near halfway. Walker swings a pass across left here now. Duffy for Johnston. Takes on the tackler there in Tuamulatu Brown. And greatest try scorer in Australian Rugby League, Johnston will play it now. Walker back off to Colomatungi, and he is brought down 30 out, 20 in from that western side. Last place South, who trails 16 points to 14. Off a step, the kick from Ward. Up goes Falongo. He was up there for what felt like forever, and brings the ball down cleanly here, and Storm go back on the attack, 8 metres out from their own line.
Yeah, it feels like the kickers from both teams are getting it right in the last play through the last couple of sets. Both times it's gone up. The chasers have come through and really challenged the fullbacks of the opposition team, so it's really heading up there. Loose ball from the Storm.
And now it's bounced on here by South and Colomatungi. So 20 out, 20 in from the far side. A full set now for South Sydney on Melbourne's line pretty much inside that red zone. Set restart, start us off as well. Here is Hubner. Wrapped up down there by Toikamano. Played 15 in. Because it comes here, Walker to the left now again and Siegwald shrugs one tackle there of Mini and goes the rest of the way to score. Is there a grounding is the question. May have been held up by 3 Storm defenders. Great desperate stuff from Tuamulatu Brown. Really gets his leg down initially to prevent the Latrell Siegwald grounding. So he'll play it here. 10 metres out from that northern goal line. Still with most of the set to go. And that's the concerning thing here for the Melbourne Storm. They lead 16-14. Left to right they come here to Tola. And the passing close. Looking to put that man through the gap. Playing it out there is Hubner. Pass fly across here for Ward. Left to right they come. Graham, catch and run on the inside there of Wishart. He's deep in that northeastern corner of Stadium Australia. Played now on Melbourne's line. White back to Ward. Oh, shift Melbourne's defence with me again here. Walker off to Siegwald, off to Johnston. He catches, runs, takes on Furlongo, and he can score the try in that very same part where Siegwald was denied only moments ago. Australian Rugby League's greatest try scorer, Alex Johnston, does score the try to put South Sydney ahead. 18-16, kick to come at the 16-minute mark of this second half in Hallertau.
It was desperation defence from the Melbourne Storm on their left side, and the South Sydney Rabbitohs almost crossed the line. They immediately jump into shift mode all the way back to their own left side, which gets to Alex Johnston, the speedster, the try-scoring machine. He loves Stadium Australia. He scores tries here for fun. He gets it on the end of that full shift. He has plenty of space. The only cover coming across really that had a chance of stopping him was Jerome Hughes. He manages to beat him back on the inside, shrug away from the tackle, and keep this run going for the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
2 tries in the space of 6 minutes now with Brandon Smith and now Alex Johnston. He's 31st career try for him, and of course you mentioned he loves this ground. He scored 4 tries last time these sides met here, which was round 16 last year. Storm won that by a point, by the way, thanks to a Ryan Pappenhausen field goal, but in Golden Point. But that is a key moment in this game as South take back the lead down to MC on the touchline.
Yeah, there's been some confusion here for the Rabbitohs. Ashton Ward's lining up the kick, and he's asked for a different kick instead of the one Latrell usually uses. And they've been scrambling trying to find it. They couldn't find it, so he just opted for the same one.
David says South's are back. I love rugby league. What a game, what a season. Yeah, he'd already put a line through them a short time ago. Thank you, Luca, for your text. David Narra said Souths to win. I can't recall. Did Dave have a different tip? Usually Dave sends his tip in right on kickoff. Just says either Souths to win or Storm to win. I think he said Storm. Did you, Dave? Anyway, I don't want to accuse you of flopping. 25 out and a few metres in from that western side here. So Ashton Ward, a right foot goal kicker. In he comes, and this looks pretty straight. No, that's my view for you. And South do lead by just those 2 points. South Sydney 18, Melbourne Storm 16. 17 minutes gone, 23 left in this second half. Trish in Concord, big Roosters fan, all comes down to round 24 for the Super Bing 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 dance. What's in round 24 then, as far as the Roosters are concerned? So the Roosters in round 24 will have Penrith. That will be a big one. Top 4 clash. Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's that time of year, isn't it? These games mean so much, as does this one, for the fortunes of these respective sides, South Sydney and Melbourne. Yes, there's still a long way to go, but South looking to withstand the injury and suspension concerns they have. And, of course, the Storm looking to avoid missing out on the finals for the first time in 16 years, and just the 4th time ever in club history. 3rd time under Craig Bellamy. And here goes the centre field run now from Ewan Aiken. And he's collected here. 25 out from his own line, southern end. Rolls it back now for Brendan Smith. On to Junior Totola. And Wishart gets in first in that tackle along with Liero. Play it 30 out now. South go across that right-hand side. Aiken's involved again on that 40-metre line. Play it now for Smith. Looks across to the right-hand side. Running kick from Ashton Ward. Falongo's waiting for it down there on the wing. He crosses the 20 and now is brought down by Kolomatangi. 28 metres out, 20 in from the far side. 18 gone, 22 left in this second half. You're with Brett Sprigg alongside Dean Hallertau and Michael Carrianas. Play it by Wishart, 40 out. And now on to Howarth, stopped in his tracks by Hubner and Whiten. 8 short of the halfway. Dummy half Wishart, off to Hughes. They choose this right-hand side now with Tumalatu Brown. 1-on-1 steal by Brandon Smith, although Ash Klein says no, it wasn't. It was, in fact, stripped. There were more in the tackle. It was Aiken who sort of came off the tackle, Aiken, but Ash Klein receiving a challenge submission here from South Sydney.
We have a challenge here from South in the on-field decision of the man strip.
At the same time, Brandon Smith, who was involved in that, has just come limping from the field.
Yeah, we'll get NBC to keep an eye on that for us as well. Not for the first time in the game that Brandon Smith has come off in such a fashion. For him, Liam LeBlanc comes on. Let's have a listen to Grant Atkins in the bunker. Atkins sort of came off and sort of put his hands up as if to say, no, I'm out of the tackle.
There are originally 2 players in the tackle. You can see at this point on the screen on the right, the Melbourne player is holding Ewan Aiken. Ewan Aiken is not affecting a tackle. The ball is stolen 1-on-1.
There we go. So successful challenge for South Sydney and Brandon Smith, who unfortunately for him, MC, is headed back to the tunnel.
There for Brandon Smith, but that was a great call, because it was obvious that the Melbourne Storm player actually had hold of Ewan Aiken as they tried to release from the tackle. So whilst there was 2 players, South Sydney players, technically touching the defender, I thought that was an outstanding decision from the bunker, a common sense decision there just on Brandon Smith. As he was hobbling from the sideline, he was barking at Cody Walker to challenge, and he's done that now. He's up the tunnel.
So South had ball inside Melbourne's half, a full set, 42 out from that northern line here, and tackled ball and all is Totola. Play it now for Humphreys, off to Liam LeBlanc. And Liam LeBlanc, the 4th of those bench players used. So Hubner, LeBlanc, Humphreys and Fletcher tonight for Wayne Bennett's Bunnies. Here they come right to left. Duffy onto Seagull. Takes on Falongo and he's dragged down 8 minutes shy of Melbourne's line. Momentum here with South Sydney. 18-16 their scoreline as well. Off here to Cody Walker. Centre field it comes. Hubner off to LeBlanc and he's taken down by 3 Storm defenders. That's 7 metres shy, right-hand side of the post. Away it comes here. From Humphreys, and now Ward sends it back to the field for Walker. Engineers the pass now for Seagull. Taken out of the legs by Meany. He'll play it now. 13 out from that northern line. Running crossfield kick from Walker. Up goes Whiten through the air. Lost it in the traffic. Falongo gathers here for the Storm, and he will be playing it 8 metres out from his own line. Still South 18, the Storm 16.
There's a real chance on that kick, and once again the chase is coming through and contesting the ball there in Jack White. But I was just watching Suafai Fa'alonga throughout that set. As a fullback, he's covering so many metres, getting back across, plugging holes, coming up with tackles in the front line when his team's left short, then comes up with a great reception on the end of that kick.
So here you go, the Melbourne Storm. Excuse me, cough button. Wishart to the left-hand side, and Aiken makes the tackle in there on Liero. Leader inside South territory. Storm here, rumble upfield with the middle of the park. Hughes onto Tukamano. Feeds it back here for Tolau. He's got some dash. Here he goes back on the inside there of Duff. The ankle tap by Kolomatangi and runs straight into Totola as well. He'll now play it 5 out. So Melbourne here positioned well. Hughes kick cross field up in the air. Tumalatu Brown knocks it down there again, and now Mini plants the ball, does he? Ref Ash Klein not convinced. Let's have a listen.
We're going to kick it first. 5 in the 6. We have no try. Confirm it comes down short, and then he's held up and tackled short of the try line.
There we go. The explanation there from referee Ashley Klein. Over to you, Grant Atkins in the bunker.
Just to see if there's a
on the kicker.
tackle.
Kick chase on the right is onside. The contact from the charge end is incidental from South Sydney. We're playing on.
So they cleared the kick and anything else in the play. The question is, does Nick Meaney get there, which Ashley Klein didn't seem to think so, and he was in a pretty good position as well, the referee.
Player jumps from the field of play. We're playing on. There's no tackle in the air.
It's the lightest of touches.
So Walker wraps up.
There's no high tackle from Cody Walker here playing on.
How does he not get there? I guess Siegwald sort of jumps back onto Nick Meaney as he goes to ground the ball. And in fact, he is probably half metre shy.
Nick Meaney is tackled on tackle 6, short of the goal line.
So it will be South ball deep in that, something into the ground, and they lead 18-16 the Rabbitohs.
There's a good first up challenge there by Cody Walker coming across in cover, and then Seaward joins in to shut him down. So it was a nice play there from the Melbourne Storm. It was a slow play, the ball. So once they got to the kick, it was a nice play, but then great cover defence from the Rabbitohs left edge.
So here they go. By the way, Simon also put me right here on Craig Bellamy. So just 2010, of course. Bellamy came in 2003, not 02. So that was, Mark Murray. So thank you very much, Simon, for that fact check. But yes, it happened just once under Craig Bellamy. The Storm missed the finals. They trail here by 2 points, 18-16. South on the attack here. Rattle. And now Liam LeBlanc through centre field. Play at 20 out from his own line. Humphreys off to his right here. Another gain of 10 here now for Totola. And he's just heaped back, though, by those 3 defenders. Yatoi Kamanu, and also in there is Jack Hetherington. So they've used him off the bench as well. The Melbourne Storm. South 18, Storm 16. 18 and a half left in the game here as Ward does kick from just in front of the 40. Trapped down there by Fa'alonga. The Melbourne fullback regathers, gets over his own 20-metre line and returns it all of about 25 metres. This is where he will play it, and now called back to play it here, tackle 2 for the Melbourne Storm. 18-16 is the South Sydney lead here after those 2 second-half tries for Brendan Smith and Alex Johnston. And here go the Storm with ball over halfway. Wishart off to Jerome Hughes. Now Fa'alonga. Cooper Clark, the back rower, he catches and gains about 17 more metres. He's 30 out from South Sydney's line. Couple of plays left in the set now for the visitors. They call the play here. Tolau off to Hughes and then Wishart. Back now for Keeley, and Keeley stands in the Cody Walker tackle. Play at 20 out, right-hand side of the post as Jerome Hughes puts up the last play kick. Tumalatu Brown goes up, as does Meaney. Bats it back here for King. Pass goes back to the legs of Keeley, picked up by Wishart, and now here is Fa'alonga. He puts in the kick as well, chasing. Walker gets there first, and South control possession here. They'll start their next set about 7 metres out from their line, southern end. They lead 18-16 with 17 and a half left in the game. Down to MC on the touchline.
Yeah, Brandon Smith returned from the sheds with that other leg strap now, and he's just gone and sat next to the injured players on that South Sydney bench, on the South Sydney dugout, so away from the bench. It's, David Feeder, Talis Duncan, Latrell Mitchell, so I'd say his night is done as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you, MC. Left to right they come. Here is Campbell Graham, and he evades one tackle. They try again here. Offload comes here for Duffy. He explodes up the eastern side, and he's collared down there by Yatoi Kamanu. And that was impactful, to say the least there from Stefano Utoikamanu. 25 out. Chip and chase here from Ward. Gets the kind bounce here. Takes on Farlongo, but Farlongo stops in 5 shy. Roll back here for Humphreys. And now John Rattle to score the try. The third gamer gives South Sydney some breathing space. John Rattle. Third game, second career try after his debut in round 15, and he makes it South Sydney 22, Melbourne 16, kick to come Bunnies with 16 left on the clock.
It was all set up by the run there of Campbell Graham. It looks like he had spiders on him. He was just shrugging away defenders as they were trying to get him to ground. Then he comes up with a really nice offload to Dufty, who was looping around the outside. He's been great when he's chiming in that right side attack for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The cover defence from Stefano Utoikamanu was massive. As you said, he did a great job to get there, the big man. But then once they got back to the middle, the Melbourne Storm was struggling to get their numbers out. I feel like it would have been a penalty anyway. Trent Toiler never got onside, but Rattle did a great job to take the hit up straight into the meat of that defence and then get across the line to extend the lead for the Rabbitohs.
You mentioned who's not there, MC. David Fafita, of course. He had a role to play tonight. John Rattle, he scored a try here for South Sydney.
Outstanding work there, and good vision from Ashton Ward to realise that Saul Farlongo was actually made that tackle on the far side of the field. So there was no fullback, gets the bounce, and Farlongo does an exceptional job having made that tackle on Matt Dufty to back up and make another tackle on Ashton Ward, but the scrambling Storm defensive line just couldn't withstand another attacking tackle.
Thank you, Michael Carianis. Here is the kick from Ashton Ward. Only a very slight angle right-hand side of the post after the John Rattle try, his second in his 3 games so far, and Ashton Ward just cannons that ball over that goal, over that crossbar for 2 more points. Here's what I'm trying to say here. South Sydney 24 and Melbourne Storm 16. The scoreline here at Stadium Australia, NRL Friday on ABC Sport. Round the grounds, third quarter AFL at the MCG. Geelong 75 leads Melbourne Demons 63. Half time in Perth. Fremantle 40 leads the West Coast Eagles 32. There was 2 New South Wales Cup full-time scores earlier. The Roosters 50 beat Newcastle 14, and Parramatta 10 beat Penrith 6. Jersey Flegg full-time, Panthers 22, Eels 18. Big day, of course, coming up tomorrow. Big weekend as NRL round 21 rolls on. Before we get there, we'll recap the excitement of earlier where the Roosters 23 beat the Newcastle Knights 22. Here's Liam LeBlanc. He's from Ingham in North Queensland. Shop, you know who's from Ingham in North Queensland? Everyone. Laurie Spina's from there, of course, our man on ABC Sport. David Christopherly, the current Queensland Premier, is from Ingham. There's some big footy names. I think Sam Bacco is from Ingham as well, the late Sam Bacco. Greg Dowling, 30 out from that southern line here, South Sydney. And here goes Kolomatangi, 35 out here for South Sydney. Back it comes now for Totola. Bounced off one tackle there of Keeley. And by the time they get him again, he's on the halfway line here on last here for South to lead 24-16. This kick trickles downfield there for the now headgearless Saul Farlongo. He does ditch the headgear after a certain amount of game time. And now tackled 20 out from that northern line here for the Melbourne Storm. Dummy half Toiler across to the left-hand side on a charging run, Moses Leo. Gets it across now, 30 out from that northern line, and tackled ball and all is Alec McDonald. 40 out now from their own line here. Toikamanu, can he spark the Storm here? Still anyone's game with 13:40 left on the clock. South lead by an 8-point buffer, and it's last play. In fact, now it's a set restart Melbourne. So a full set 35 out from South's line. Through hands it comes to Hughes, and now Josh King, and he stands in a 3-man tackle on that 30-metre line now for the Melbourne Storm. Toilau looks to his left. Flat ball for Hughes, and now Wishart bursts through. Beats Kolomatangi. Steps on the inside there of the fullback and goes in and scores behind the post. Well, that was Tyron Wishart. And Melbourne's wish comes true. 24-20, kick to come Storm, still with 13 left on the clock. Dean Hallertau.
As we've seen all night with the Storm, they're making meters so easy down the middle of the field. Stefano Utoikamanu, some strong carries. Trent Toiler actually did a great job to earn that 6 again from the offside mark as he jumped out of dummy half on the 4th play, and then he dived straight into some of those defenders that were offside. Gets the 6 again to go straight into attack mode, the Melbourne Storm. And it's a pretty simple play, but it's executed perfectly. Jerome Hughes throws a nice ball out the back there to find Tyron Wishart running the sweep line, and all he does is cut off the left foot. He gets right into the line, catches it under some pressure coming in from the outside, but the speed and the footwork from Wishart gets him in, and then the step on Matt Duffy to bring him back towards the post. It's a great try from the Storm.
Let's wait here for the extra points from Tyron Wishart. He's directly in front, 12 metres out now from that southern goal line. He will also attempt, as Ashton Ward did, to put the ball over the crossbar, which is the objective in these things, to add 2 more points to your score. And an important couple of points as well, because it will be a 2-point ball game at that stage with a dozen minutes left here in the game. 24-22, soon to be here. Wishart is 2 from 4 so far tonight, does in fact do that, so he's 3 from 5, converting his own try, and makes it South Sydney 24, the Melbourne Storm 22, down to Michael Karianis on the touchline.
Yeah, it's essentially been a two-man show for the Melbourne Storm. Stefano Utokumanu in the middle of the field, and Sulfar Longo. They've just been outstanding and so dangerous. It was that Stefano run which enabled Trent Arlao to get that set restart, and a nice try from Tyron Wishart. But South Sydney, they're just clinging on. They're battered at the moment. They're struggling at the moment as well.
David's asking about the NRLW Magic Round, and when is it? It's next week in Wagga Wagga. Are there tickets left to purchase? Could any ABC listeners take me, says David? We'll forget the offers. I'll let you know, David, on the text line from our loyal band of correspondents. But yeah, that's something next week in Wagga Wagga. We'll have Bridget Murphy there for us, keeping us across all of that across the weekend. As the Storm here bring it back with the set after points after the Wishart try and conversion. It's a 2-point game here at Stadium Australia in Sydney Olympic Park. Toilau, dummies, gets up the 30-metre line now. Totola stops him on the floor. Played to Wishart. This is second last play here for the Storm. Hughes feeds for Longo, and now here goes Howarth. Sandwich between White and Graham. The ball pops free out over the eastern touchline, and we'll come back here. It will be South Sydney's ball, I fancy. Last touch Melbourne. We're arguing the point here on that far side.
Yeah, which means he's out, which means it's not Melbourne, though.
There we go.
Just stop. If he's out and he touches the ball, it's off Melbourne.
Just clarifying there.
We've got to play the ball to South, because Campbell's touched the ball, but he was out of play, so he's out of touch. That's the ruling.
South ball here, about 5 short of halfway, with the Rabbitohs still leading 24-22, but we'll have a captain's challenge.
Okay, so we're lagging the challenge there. Our on-field decision is the ball is passed off South, off Melbourne. Campbell Graham was out when he touches the ball, so it was last played out by Melbourne. No, it was confusing. Yeah, that was a confusing.
Confusing from the players as well. Obviously, a bit of time here for the match official on the bunker to look at this.
The ball is offloaded backwards here.
He's got the strapping on him. I've liked him there.
So yeah, looking at the replay here on the big screen, they can see that it does deflect off.
Jack Whiten moves his hand to block the path of the ball. We're playing on to this point. It goes forward off Jack Whiten at this point.
And I don't think anyone touches it. Oh, hang on, it's regathered by Graham. So that'll still be Melbourne's point.
It's going to be a knock-on off Jack White,
yes,
as they've called it.
So
Campbell Graham's foot's back in before he touches it. The first breach, however, is a knock-on from South Sydney, with Jack Whiten playing at the ball.
So that'll be a successful challenge.
Challenge by South Sydney is unsuccessful.
I don't know why they challenged it.
Well, hang on. Yeah.
Melbourne challenge are successful.
Melbourne challenge.
Melbourne challenge. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't South.
There's a lot of confusion.
Oh, I said it was Melbourne.
There was a bit going on in that decision. No wonder it was confusing. A few head scratches, but I think the outcome is right.
Someone never confused Michael Karianis. Down to UMC.
I was hoping you could recap that for us, Griggy. But anyway,
I said it was Melbourne anyway.
It's Melbourne's ball now. They're on the attack. They got that challenge right. It came off Jack Whiten's hand.
40 out from that South Sydney line here. Storm trailing by 2 points, 24-22. And Utokumanu drags flag down there by Tolo. Play it now, 28 out from that southern line. Set raised up Melbourne. So here we go again. Full set from that 20-metre line here for the Melbourne Storm. It's played there by McDonald. Comes open side right from Toilet of Wishart. Now Hughes onto Falongo. Bursting speed in the corner. He breaks one tackle. Still going for Falongo. Not quite there as Duffy gets him. Metre out from that southern line. It's played to Mini. Open side left here. Hughes back now to Toilau. They shift the south defence as Wishart now stops in the tackle of Humphrey. 10 metres out, left-hand side of the post. Midway through this set now for the Storm. We trail by 2 points. Tuikamanu takes on Dufty and now Rattle. And they will play it 6 metres shy of that southern line. Wishart to Hughes and now Meany runs for the corner. He was explosive pace. Too quick for Seagwell. Nick Meany returns Melbourne back to the lead. 26-24, kick to come Storm. Big arrow celebration there from Nick Meany. And the ref called this try. It was very quiet, but yes, it is in fact. Melbourne up by 2. 26-24, kick to come Melbourne with 9:20 left in the game, Dean Hallertau.
Well, how important was that challenge from the Melbourne Storm to regain possession and put themselves on the attack? They immediately jump into it, and they have looked sharp when they've moved the ball to an edge. Far longer almost went across in that same corner only moments earlier. They spread it back all the way to the other side. They get straight on the job again and move it back to their right. It was a beautiful pass out the back there from Jerome Hughes to find Nick Meany, and really the numbers were there for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. They just hung on that pass from Jerome Hughes for too long. It was a great line run through the centre there by Oren Keeley, and then Nick Meany, once he gets it, he realises there's space, he realised the wing is hanging, so he just pins the ears back, gets through and puts themselves back in front.
Touchline, Michael Carianis.
Yeah, they're just finding their front too often, the Melbourne Storm, and South Sydney's defensive line is just scrambling. They can't control the ruck speed whatsoever, and that's why they're retreating. They're just tired, falling off tackles. I'm not sure they're going to have the energy to find some more points, which are needed to try and snatch this win.
Huge game for both sides, we keep saying. So in the context of these two teams' seasons, it'll be desperate stuff these last 8 minutes. Here's Tyron Wishart. He's 25 metres out and a couple of steps in from the western side. Having converted his own try a short time ago. 3 from 5 so far tonight. Not the preferred side for a right footer. Tyron Wishart. He comes, starts it right and it stays there. He misses near side. So 3 from 6 now for Wishart, and it remains Melbourne 26, South Sydney 24 here as NRL Friday on ABC Sport continues. Off the SMS, Billy, our taxi driver in Brisbane, says Billy Slater is from North Queensland, third highest try scorer in history. Yeah, well, Billy Slater's from Innisfail. I was talking about Ingham. Ingham was what I was giving a shout out to. Liam LeBlanc and Laurie Spooner, David Christopherly. All from Ingham specifically. Thank you, Billy, for your text though. 0467 920 222. Round the grounds, AFL, fourth quarter in Melbourne. Geelong 81 leads the Demons 63. Third quarter in Perth, 354 leads the West Coast Eagles 32. And of course, we'll recap later on the Sydney Roosters 1-point win over the Newcastle Knights at Hunter Stadium. So more heartbreak in a close game for Newcastle. And of course, the Roosters reaffirm their top 4 and indeed perhaps top 2 credentials on the run home. 7:45 left here, and it's a 2-point game. Melbourne leads South Sydney. Centre field run from Nate McDonald. He's over halfway now here on tackle 4. Comes to the right now for Jerome Hughes. On to Keeley. Skips away from Humphreys. Offloads here out of the rattle tackle. Back to Josh King. And King meets his demise. 32 out from that southern line. Last play, Melbourne, 2 points their lead. Couple of steps and the kick from Jerome Hughes. Launching off that wing is Alex Johnston. Brings it down here. 8 metres out from his own line here for South Sydney, who trail 26-24 with exactly 7 minutes and 4 seconds left.
That was a great set again from the Melbourne Storm. They finish only 5 metres out from the South Sydney Rabbitohs goal line, and that they have got their tails up at the moment. Again, strong running from Stefano Tuikamanu, and I've got to say Trent Toilau out of the middle. He's doing a great job of bringing his forwards onto the ball.
How the crowd figure, by the way, tonight. Here they go, left to right, South Sydney, and there goes Campbell Graham. He steps infield here where he's taken by Wishart and Leo. Play at 40 out. As comes across now again through hands. Ward, LeBlanc, and now Walker. Off half here to Seagwalt. He's besieged by the Melbourne defence. Coming in hot was Keeley. Play at 40 out, 20 in. Western side now for South. Walker kicks from inside 40. It doesn't quite have the bounce. Or in fact, it does get away from Folongo, who coughs it up over the Western touchline. Clever stuff from Walker. Folongo got there and just spilled the ball out for touch. 13 out from that corner post. So possession here for South Sydney. Nice work from Cody Walker here. Right in front of him, Michael Carrianis on the touchline.
Yeah, it was a nice slice kick, intended to go over the sideline. Folongo just didn't need to make the play out. It was in two minds. Didn't need to touch it at all. Eventually tries to trap it with his foot and then goes out over the sideline just to give South Sydney a golden opportunity.
15 out from that northern line. Here goes South Sydney. They trail by 2 points. 5:40 left. Back it comes to LeBlanc. Dragged down. 5 out right-hand side of the post. Dummy half Humphreys. Comes back left-hand side. Ward. Couple of players slip over. Comes here now for Dufty. And the South's fullback is stopped. 5 shy in that north-western corner of Stadium Australia. Dummy half Latrell Seagwalt. Back here to Walker. And now again Humphreys. Left to right they go. Ward onto Whiten. Little shake and bake down there on Howard. Steps in field now, the veteran. White still has it. Shares it with Rattle. He's sent out for Melbourne's line. And now wrapped up down there by Meany and Hughes. He's 6 metres out now. Left-hand side of the post with 5 minutes left. South's down by 2. Comes through hands. LeBlanc to Walker. And now Ward. Pass over across the top here for Campbell Graham. There was a perfect Harbour Bridge ball. And Campbell Graham made it even better by scoring the try. Well done, Ashton Ward. Graham puts South back in front with his second try tonight. 28-26. Kick to come Bunnies with 4:40 left in Hallertau.
Yeah, well, that's the look they've been going for all night. Just the outside defenders of the Melbourne Storm rushing up and in to try and shut down those shifts from the Rabbitohs. The Harbour Bridge rush we've seen. Cody Walker try one on the left-hand side earlier in the match. It didn't come off. It went straight across the touchline. But on this occasion, he gets Moses Leo all the way up into the line, tying in, and then he pops it over the top there. Does Ashton Ward to find his winger and give them back the lead there. The Rabbitohs, smart football. Campbell Graham, he's been strong tonight on that right edge.
That pass was Ward winning for South down to MC on the touchline.
Oh, I love it, Spriggy. He's had a really controlled game, Ashton Ward. Like, he just bobbed up in the places where you want your halfback to be. He's in everything. He's had a really, really composed game and a beautiful pass, which might be the match winner that South Sydney need.
So 4 minutes and 10 seconds left as the seconds tick down here. And we'll now see the kick from Ashton Ward on that far side of the ground. 24 metres out. Barely a metre in from the eastern touchline. Your text remain welcome. 0467 920 222. What a finish this is, though. Desperate stuff for both sides. The Storm sitting 11th, facing their first non-finals appearance in 16 years. Ashton Ward, at the back of his try assist. Here's his right foot kick from that sideline. He misses near side. So Ward now 1 from 3 after Seagwalt's 2 misses earlier. And it remains here a 2-point game. South 28, Melbourne 26. We've got 3.5 left on the clock.
Yeah, and I feel like there's still points left in this game. The way in which both teams have been piercing the outside shapes from the defence. They've been really strong, playing with a lot of speed and momentum, and going to see a short kick-off here from the Storm to try and give themselves a late hope as well.
Sharon says, best footy I've ever watched. They've had some great games this year, certainly, and this is a sense. The context of this season, huge for both sides. Anyone's game from here. Johnston gets the short kick-off here for South, so they will get the ball back. 30 out from their own line. 3.5 left in the game here at Stadium Australia. About 10,000 or so, I think, the crowd tonight. Not a big crowd on this Friday evening. Olympic Park precinct. Rattle into a 3-man tackle. 40 out from South's line. Tackle 3 here for South Sydney. They lead by 2 points, 28-26. 3:15 left in the game. And now Toy Kamano forces back Liam LeBlanc. Play it 5 short of halfway. Flat ball from dummy half as Humphreys goes to his left. And now again here with South Sydney and Dufty stopped in his tracks by Tolau. 40 out from Melbourne's line now. South on last play. Humphreys finds Walker. Up goes a high left foot kick. Called by Folongo. Reaches for it, does well. Brings it down. 17 out from his own line here for the Melbourne Storm. 2:35 left in the game. They trail by 2.
Yeah, they need to shift it around as much as possible and try and get Folongo involved. He's got a bit of an ankle issue at the moment, so that may hamper him somewhat.
Well, they go 30 out here on this rumble up field from the Melbourne Storm. Keeley play up that 30-metre line here. Tolau across to his left-hand side now. Wishart, he explodes away. Not until he's stopped, though, by Koloamatangi. Forced back down by Totola and Humphreys as well. 35 out, 20 in from that eastern side. Dummy half Tolau off to Trent Liero. Now Hughes. Here goes Keeley with a half break. Shoves out the pass. Back here for South Sydney. Walker's all over it. Well, Keeley thought he had no other option than to get that flick pass out the back, but Cody Walker said, thank you very much. South pounce on that ball. They have a 2-point lead, minute 50 left in the game.
Yeah, still had time there, Keeley, and it wasn't last play yet, so I know he felt like there was an opportunity, but he just dished it out the bat. I don't know if he got a call from Cody Walker, a cheeky one, but it didn't need to be passed. He still had one more play up his sleeve.
Souths have all-important possession here. 35 out, played by Aiken to Humphreys, and now Rattle. Can they control possession, control the game with a 2-point buffer? 30 out here from that Melbourne line. Can they ice the game here? Ward to Walker, on here to Dufty, and he steps in field, and he's almost slowed down by Moses Leo. He was a little bit, and now surrounded by 3 white jerseys there in that north-eastern corner. Campbell Graham here from dummy half, and he can't quite finish things off in the way he started it with the first try of the game from dummy half. We'll come back here. Melbourne have one last shot at things here. 68 seconds left in the game. They trail by 2 points, and they'll have it 10 metres out from their own line.
Well, letting him get into the end goal means that they can bring it out to the 10. If you had to stop just short of it, then it makes it even more difficult for the Storm.
He was held up in goal, so that's why they get a 10-metre head start here, the Melbourne Storm, on what will be the last set of the game, you would think. Souths have to stay disciplined. Here they come. Liero off to Hughes. Flat ball here to Keeley. Good gain here towards that 30-metre line here for Melbourne. He stands in the Seabolt tackle. Played here for Toilau. Tackle 3 now for the Storm. Hughes through centre field. Toikamano pops it back here now for his halfback. Hughes will kick desperate for the wing. They'll go over halfway, and Moses Leo is beaten to it down there by Campbell Graham. So Souths get on that loose ball with 32 seconds left, and that might just be it. And there's jubilation now on the South Sydney bench. And Melbourne Storm will go home. Tail between legs. They've lost their captain as well, Harry Grant, with a hamstring injury. Souths here will go from 7th up to 6th. Storm stay 11th for now. Johnston slows the play down in these dying seconds. A game of violent momentum swings here at Stadium Australia. And in the end, South Sydney will see it home for a 28-26 win. It is mighty. Their 10th win of the campaign. They do it without Cameron Murray, without Tallis Duncan. Of course, no David Fafito, who's out suspended, and faced with real Melbourne momentum in that first half. They see it through here, trailing 16-8 at the halftime break to win 28-26 here in front of their home crowd at Stadium Australia. Here is their song. In the end, tries in on the half for Campbell Graham. He scored the first and last try of the game, in fact. Jack White and Brandon Smith, Alex Johnston, John Rattle, all on the board. 6 tries to 5 that win. Meanwhile, for the Melbourne Storm, they had 5 different try scorers. Tuamulatu, Brown, Keeley, Folongo in the first half, and then Wishart and Mini in that little burst in the second half as well to take possession, or take the lead back at 26-24. Campbell Graham's try on the back of a fantastic Ashton Ward pass was the difference points in the end for South to win this game and go up from 7th to 6th on their run home, still with those 5 or so weeks to go. We get some reaction from Michael Carianis down there, in fact down to UMC.
Yeah, just with South Sydney halfback Ashton Ward. Ashton, what did you make of that performance?
Yeah, I thought, in moments in the game we were good, but just, lacking a bit of consistency there. We still can't get really that full 80-minute performance that we're chasing.
As a kicker, take us to the mindset we see someone like Suafai Longo, just the way he's returning the ball. So does that change the way you guys approach your last tackle options?
I guess a little bit. I'm always trying to put the ball in the corner so they can only come out of their end one way, I guess. But, when he's returning the ball, he definitely makes you nervous.
You put it on a dime for Campbell Graham to set up that match winner. You must have been happy with that pass.
Yeah, definitely. I was a bit hot and cold tonight. I wasn't happy with some parts of my game, but to get that try at the end, definitely put the icing on it.
Well played, mate, and good luck for the back end of the year.
Yeah, thank you.
Ashton Ward with Michael Carianis. He was fantastic. I think he's being a bit harsh on himself there, young Ashton Ward, but it wasn't perfect. Players out. It's been their story the past couple of years as well. They'll be very pleased with the win here tonight.
Yeah, they had to battle for that, didn't they? And it was, as you say, end-to-end staff back and forth, traded leads a number of times, and either side really looked like they could have scored points quite comfortably when they got deep into opposition territory. They shifted the ball to either side of the field. There was just these openings that were popping up, and South Sydney made the most of their chances. I think Melbourne probably finished ahead on a few stats.
Down to you, MC.
Yeah, just with Storm 5-8, Tyron Wishart, a bizarre old game where it was just like wings in pockets for both sides.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. A bit of it was a lot of it was self-inflicted, I think. So I don't think we can really blame, any refereeing or decisions. It was some poor discipline on our end, and I'm sure they'd be saying the same thing. It was bizarre, like you said, but yeah, we're just struggling to find consistency through the 80 minutes, and especially from the start, they out-enthused us from the start, and I think that caught up to us.
How tough was it? Obviously, Harry Grant started off the bench, and then it doesn't last 20 minutes, and then limps from the field.
Yeah, that's obviously a tough thing to see for our team. He brings so much, but in saying that, I thought we really did dig deep, and there's a lot to be proud of there, but there's also a lot that we really need to look at ourselves and have a look at our consistency, and especially throughout the whole 80. So hopefully Harry's all right, but it's just, if it is, it's another injury that we've got to look at, and it'll test our depth.
As frustrating as it was, there's a couple of big performances. Suafai Longo obviously had that late error, but was damaging every time I touched the ball. And Stefano Utogimaru looked like he came with some real intent tonight.
Yeah, Sua being the competitor he is, he was a bit upset after that game, but I think as a team we all love what he brings, and he can't think that one error was what led to that, because he was tough for us all night, and I think him and Stefano, like you said, led from the front. There was a lot of things that could have helped us win, and a few goals missed by myself, which is disappointing, but at the same time they did as well, so weird game, like you said.
It's a battle at the back end of the year. Good luck with it, mate.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Tyron Wishart there with Michael Carianis, and MC can join us up here now for our post-game wrap-up here in the box at Stadium Australia. It was 28-26, the full-time score in the end from, as I said, a 16-8 half-time Melbourne lead. So we saw the lead change hands 4 times in the game, Dean Hallertau. Souths finally now have back-to-back wins against the Storm for the first time ever. So that's a funny little stat. Of course, they broke their Melbourne hoodoo last time they met in round 8 with that 48-6 win. Souths are now 6-0 at Stadium Australia this year. So wins against Canterbury, St George, Illawarra, Cronulla, Broncos, Newcastle, and now the Storm. And the Storm have now had 1 win in their past 5 visits to Hunch. And that was against Souths last year, in fact, but they've lost, of course, 2 grand finals in that time as well at this very venue. The fact of the matter is they are in serious danger now. Still in 11th for the time being, but of course the Raiders play West against the Tigers tomorrow, not to be too presumptuous, so they can jump the Storm back down to 12th. The Storm still do have a bye in hand, but we're looking at the very real prospect here, Shop, of for the second time ever under Craig Bellamy, Melbourne missing the finals, and it appears very real now. And of course, the extra thing around Harry Grant, his injury might make things even worse. Still no Cameron Munster and Will Warbrick, of course. So they'll have to face that challenge. While it is, of course, still mathematically possible for the Storm to find their way in.
Yeah, look, it is still mathematically possible, and if you can get Harry through this apparent hamstring injury and he gets back on the field quickly, then obviously he's a key to their big performances and their wins. And if he can be on the field, then I'll give them a far better hope. In saying that, I thought Trent Toilau in the second half did a great job to lead through the middle of the field. But it's unfamiliar for us to be talking about Melbourne in this way, but it's sort of the way their season's gone. They've been up and down. They've had a number of injuries, as you say, and not injuries to squad players, they're injuries to guys that are their key guys. So they've got to find a way out of it, as Tyron Wishart mentioned there, and have a good hard look at themselves. They're only too short tonight. It was a pretty good game. It was end-to-end stuff, and that could have easily gone their way. Defence is probably the issue that I mentioned throughout the game. They're just a little bit passive and a bit vulnerable on both edges.
So they're at home. They've got the Bulldogs at home on Friday night at Amy Park. That's their 8 o'clock game, which I think I'm doing. Then Manly, they've got 3 games at home. So then Manly also in Melbourne, then the bye, then the Panthers in Melbourne. So some tough games coming up. Then the Broncos and the Sharks to finish off there for the Melbourne Storm, if they are to find a few wins there and avoid missing out on the top 8. What it does do for South, so I mentioned that, of course, the Newcastle loss earlier also helps South Sydney jump from 7th up to 6th. We thought this team would hit the slide with the outs they do have, and still a long way to go. They got Cronulla away at Shark Park on Sunday next week. It's a massive game now, that Sunday 2 o'clock game, South Sydney and Cronulla Sutherland, but that gets them 10 wins now on the year, and the fashion in which they won, I guess, with Brendan Smith coming and going off the field, of course had to make changes through the week with no Fafita and of course no Murray, no Duncan, arguably the 2 most important players for South Sydney. What impressed you most about the victory for South Sydney here tonight?
I think when it felt like the Storm were getting the upper hand, it may have gotten away from the Bunnies, especially when you have the injuries that they have, and Brendan Smith goes off the field once, he goes off again, and the game's in the balance. They just hung in there, and Cody Walker come with a nice 40-20 and a couple of big plays. Ashton Ward played his part as well, but I thought Matt Duffy at the back, he continues to be a guy that gets through so much work, and there's obviously the thing that goes on with Jai Gray. He's been one of their best at times during the year. Now he's not getting a run, and Matt Duffy's favoured, and he's bringing a similar style, but I thought Matt Duffy was huge tonight. He ran for over 300 metres. Like, that is some sort of output from any player, and he made a couple of good breaks down the right-hand side. He threatened all evening. So I was impressed by their resilience, the South Sydney Rabbitohs, to stick in there, to stop a fast-finishing Storm and to come up with the points of their own to get the win.
In the end, it was 28-26, the full-time score here. It was 50% possession for each side, 86% completion for South, 87% completion for the Storm, who certainly the better of those sides in the first half. 10 line breaks to 7. We saw 11 offloads to 3 Melbourne's. That was sort of part of their play, wasn't it? The second phase work, and that worked. That was very effective in parts, especially the Yatuika Manu setting up Oren Keeley try midway through that first half. We saw 3